A Court of Fairies and Fiction. ACOWAR Girls Podcast. Hosts Mel Liv and Aka. A bookish theory and discussion podcast for the ACOWAR, Crescent City, and Tug series, as well as other romantasy books.
Season 2, Episode 22, Tell Me Why.
Hello, everybody. We are back.
Welcome back to our shenanigans.
We shenaned before. We're going to shenan again.
That's funny. I'm going to steal that.
Your flabbers will be gasted.
Your flabbers will be gasted.
I wanted to start with an image that I sent you guys the other day, but it was before all of the Cassian hate on TikTok. So I'm scrolling back to try to find it.
There was Cassian hate on Tumblr too? There was drama? And you didn't bother to tell me? You guys, what happened?
I mean, it's nothing new. It's so many times we've told you.
Just more and more
It's the
people.
same. More people are saying it?
Are like, wow, they're like really not a match.
Like they are disliking Cassian more than Reese at this point.
Yeah. Like the more I read, like the more I realize like that was not a romantic book at all.
No. And someone said
I got messages this week about that too.
From me mostly.
No. I mean, like on Instagram, I got messages from a couple people, like based off my reels and shit.
Gotcha.
But anyways, so I'm just like, oh, I gotta go to bed. I'm gonna turn my comments off, and I'll turn them on later. But this girl who we have like some similar opinions and then some that are different, but she follows me and she put, okay, your comments are turned off, which I get. Fans can be so intense, but I had to respond. ACOWAR has so many moments that made me uncomfortable, and this was one of them. I think this is why I didn't love reading that book. It made me cringe and like an oof, okay, so we're doing it this way kind of way. It's so obvious that the hike is a punishment. It's literally portrayed as a punishment and said it's a punishment, and they keep going until she basically breaks from mental exhaustion. And then he scoops her up and puts her back together, and they like fuck. Super weird. Get why some people love Cassian and Nesta, not going to judge, but I'm biased since I'm a Farah and Reese fan and defender, which I understand some people also hate, but Nessian is super odd, even for me.
Damn.
And she's a favorite fan.
All right.
And then she says, look, I do love Farah and Reese, but I totally see criticisms, but I've never been a Nessian fan. Do you think it's just bad writing, or do you think SJM is going to do some crazy stuff in the next books, like kill off Cass or break them up? And then I went into
I think both.
thing. Yeah, me too.
I think both. I think it's a cross between I think she does have something up her sleeve, but there is something that someone brought up and I can't remember who it was. And I'm going to paraphrase because this is not my original idea. This is not my original thought. This is someone else's thought, and I can't remember their name off the top of my head. That despite the fact that SJM raves about how much she loves Nesta, if you love her, why put her through all that shit?
She did that with Tamlin before ACOWAR. That's what I'm saying. Right. She knows how to snow people.
Like, you love a character, but why are you going to destroy them unless you have some kind of idea of bringing them back from the dead, almost quite literally, and giving them this awesome thing because you think they're awesome.
Say, like, she's purposely making him and Reese worse for some reason. It's gonna come to the whole Dusk thing, I swear.
Are you talking about how she's punishing Nesta, or are you talking about so
she was very depressed when she wrote this book. She admitted that she was very depressed when she wrote this book. She admitted that Nesta's journey was her journey.
That's her journey. Yeah,
and I think she said that on, I don't know if it was the Today Show interview or the Kelly Clarkson one, but one of the reasons she was like, when I wrote ACOWAR, like I was in like the worst mental place I've ever been in my life. Like, so I was like, that makes sense because it's not a romantic book. Everyone's like, oh, Cassian's an amazing mate, and like, no, everyone around her was punishing her just as much as she was punishing herself. And I feel like maybe that was like SJM in the fandom, or like SJM and shit going on in her personal life, and I don't know. Maybe she had postpartum.
See, that makes more sense. Yeah, postpartum depression. Oh my god.
And then she gave Farah another baby when she wasn't really gonna have a baby.
Well, that was explained in detail why she decided to have a baby. It makes a lot of sense.
But here's the thing: is Farah gonna have postpartum? Is my problem, because we haven't seen her on page.
Oh, maybe that would explain her absence.
It would explain her
That's a
absence. It would
curious
explain why
thought.
she's more
Right?
protective of Nesta and a little bit more done with Reese.
I've been going on Tumblr a lot.
I know.
In free time when I'm
I know.
not working on
He sends me
certain
everything.
things in my private life. But yeah, I see that too. Like Farrah was not happy about the bubble that Reese put her in. She was actively trying to get out of it.
Over. It is so skirted over.
And people are like giving excuses to Reese, but even Farrah in canon, in the book, is like, I'm trying to compromise.
I tried to break out of it, but I couldn't.
But I'm trying to break out of it. Yeah. He's very about it, but I'm not. And he's such an ass. And I don't want it.
On top of the fact where he's like, oh, if Moore was here, she wouldn't even let you leave the house. What?
So
if
he
Moore was here, which only makes me believe that Moore's been through a pregnancy before, but I digress.
Well, I was gonna say also, like, aren't the witches, I haven't read up to this part yet, but aren't they super protective of their young too? Because, like, right, isn't that the thing? Like,
yeah.
Witchling.
Super protective of them. That makes a lot of sense. That's why Moore would be.
And if she had a very rare male witchling, Cormac.
Broken, yeah.
Even more so.
Mm-hmm.
Which here just keeps going back to Eris, because like he's one of 7 boys. Like the genes are gening. You know?
I don't know. I feel like there were girls, but Baron just kind of cut them out of the family and sent them to Sagrava. Like,
yeah.
Holy shit, she's gonna pull a Game of Thrones with like Baron, like getting rid of all the girls. Or no, it was all the boys. It was all the, they kill off all the boys in that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's gonna be switched.
Yeah, it will be. Here's another question for you guys though. I know that SJM, because we like the hike is a very hot topic.
Yeah, people were mad when I posted about that. I was like, that is abuse. It is emotional and mental abuse. That's literally like the definition. People were mad.
But SJM said that it was actually based off of an actual hike that she went on. What did she say specifically about that hike? Because I haven't read that yet.
Nothing.
Was it SJM or?
Yeah, she said that she went on a hike right during this depressive period. I don't know who she went with.
Helped her, Josh.
I think she went with
helped
Josh.
her clear her head. Yeah.
She went to New Zealand, I want to say.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so. And they went on this hike. And I'm just like, is Cassian based off of Josh? Do you need help? Sarah, blink yes. Come on, let's be Ferris.
4 blinks, Sarah.
Let's do the blinking thing. If you know, you know.
So how
do you need help?
How did the hike help her? Did she say in her interview?
No, not really.
It
just
cleared her head.
Yeah. Just that it did.
Her head, but that's what it.
I don't know.
Sometimes people heal from like exercise and like, you know, you feel like you have to physically punish yourself in order to get over it. So I used to be like that. I would like go on really, really long runs whenever I had something really traumatic going on, and it just made me feel better. I don't do that now, obviously, but so I kind of understand that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would call it abuse though.
The fact that
this is the part where I like don't like that I have this much training, because I can just immediately pinpoint what type of abuse everything is, and everyone loves to fight with me, but I'm like, these are literally the definitions, these are the scenes, these are this, these are that, these are whatever. I literally have to go to mental health and like abuse trainings like twice a year for my job to get recertified every year. So it's like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's fine. Oh, it's fine. Oh, it's fine. Like, it's not fine.
No.
Not fine.
It
was emotional and mental abuse.
She didn't talk, and he didn't really check in on how she was doing emotionally. And he wasn't really checking on her. He was just telling her where to go and what to do. And then all
he
of a sudden
made her carry that backpack. He knew that like her body was breaking and he didn't care, didn't look back.
Okay, if Cassian, I agree with you on the backpack thing. I do agree that's wrong. If Cassian had carried the backpack, would you feel differently?
No, because he still ignored her the whole time, knowing that she was like ripping herself apart from the inside. He saw her not
He gave her
eating.
the silent treatment.
Yeah, he saw her not eating, didn't care. And then he like pretended that he had no idea she was gonna pass out. Like, dude. And then he was like, you didn't drink anything. Da, da, da. And then he's like, let's go. We're gonna keep going. And it's like he knew that she was in pain.
But like, he did cook her. Yeah. Well, okay, hold on. He did cook her food every single night. She refused it. She chose not to eat it, which I understand. So he did provide food for her. She was punishing herself. And also, Cassian was really hurt, I think, emotionally at this point too. And he was trying to get her
to confide.
Reese.
He did it for fucking Reese. Like, he had no reason to be mad at her for doing the right thing. The same as in HYPAXIA. He has this power of always taking Rhys's emotions as his own, and it's fucking weird.
It's codependent.
It is.
And
if Rhys is mad, I have to be mad.
And Feyre even was like, look, I'm even more mad at all of you right now.
Yeah. But I'm putting it aside for my baby. Nesta's not at fault. Please tell her I don't blame her. He purposely kept it from her. That was the first red flag, was when Feyre's like, tell her I'm not mad at her. Bring her home. First? Well, no. I mean, like, for the hike. Feyre says, come home. Feyre says, come home. Like, bring her home. And he's like,
gave him an order.
Yeah, he's like, no, we're already here. And she goes, well, Rhys told me not to tell you that he's secretly pleased. And he's like, good. Like, he did it to please Rhys and punish Nesta. Yeah. And he's like, well, tell Rhys that it's her punishment. Like, why the fuck?
But also, do you think it was Cassian's way of getting one-on-one time with his mate? Out, away from the city, away from people. Like, I don't know.
Zero time with her. Further. He didn't speak to her. He didn't cuddle with her. He didn't encourage her. He didn't make like he cared at all.
He stuck his bat rod in her.
Well, wait a second.
That's not cuddle time, okay?
He's like, oh, you just had a mental breakdown? Let me fuck you against a rock. What?
Okay, wait 1 second. Before he did that, there was a whole monologue scene where Cassian was like, you need to confide in me. You need to talk to me. You need to open up to me. He said that to her.
And then she does, and he still takes Rhys's side. That's why she doesn't, bitch. You little bat bitch. Anyway, really quick, because we cannot go into this again for the millionth time, and we only have a limited time left.
Yeah.
I sent you guys a picture the other day. I don't know if Olivia's going to remember this, but early in season 1, when we were talking about Madja and how like there's really no other old whatever, and how like I had just started, what was it, end of last year? End of season 1 maybe. I had like just started Tog or whatever. And so do you remember when I said, what if Madja and Hafiza are the same person? Hafiza.
So I don't know who Hafiza is, but I remember you saying there's something about Madja. You were like, it's weird.
Okay. I know who you're talking about.
So let me read you their descriptions, and then I will go into my little theory thing. So Hafiza says, Hafiza has dark brown skin and white hair along with brows. Due to her old age, wrinkles run down her skin. She's a healer. Her gifts were given to her by Silba. She has the power to destroy the Valg like Irene and the other healers. Now Madja says, Madja has dark skin, spindrift hair, brown eyes. She is old with wrinkles on her skin. She is described as ancient by Feyre. Despite her age, her eyes are still clear and kindled with an inner warmth. She has knobby hands that remain steady. Her healing magic is described as sweet and cooling.
Oh my god. I know.
Oh
my god. Mel, I have to ask this question, please. Please let me ask this question. If it's the same person and they have the same powers, let me finish, because we're on the same page right now.
Same page.
Did Madja sabotage Feyre's pregnancy so that both she and Rhysand died? Was it a coup?
It could have been.
I'm very proud of myself.
I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but I said, not me waking up from a half sleep when my brain realizes that my theory of Madja and Hafiza being the same person makes so much sense, because Hafiza has enough healing power to defeat a Valg. Madja is ancient. And why is she Rhysand's personal healer? Like, why did he specifically choose her? Why does
keep your enemies closer?
Why does he only ever trust her with the inner circle? How long has she been his personal healer? I said, was she his personal healer before he was High Lord too? Were his parents making him meet with her to quell the Valg inside of him for ages? Does she know things about him? And then I said, they have to be the same person, or maybe Madja is part of Hafiza's line. They are described super similarly. We know that the Tog people did at one point cross over to Prythian. So perhaps even if she isn't Hafiza, she's probably part of her line. But how long has she been Rhys's personal healer? Has she been the one keeping his Valg in check? Why does he only trust her with the inner circle? Like, he has to keep his enemies closer. Exactly. Yeah. And like I said, I think the inner circle are like his little puppets. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like Madja.
He just seems like Regina George from Mean Girls. I'm sorry.
Actually, I kind of agree with that. Right. He is Regina George. He's like, yeah, the man.
He's Rhysand George.
Oh my god. But yeah, I think that Madja's been probably helping to quell his Valg. Because book 1, I hate yielding to this thing inside of me.
I'm trying to imagine like the Bat Boys in those skimpy little Santa Claus outfits singing Jingle Bell Rock at Rita's, and it's just like, oh my god.
We literally, Eka, can you please commission that? Because Now, I need that fan art in my life. I need the Bat Boys as Mean Girls.
Cassian would be like this.
Kathy would be so into it.
Oh my god.
That's so fetch.
We need to commission that.
That's so fetch.
I needed to kind of blow your minds a little bit.
A little bit more?
A little bit more going back to the first topic of the last episode, which was the whole Greek mythology, Hecate, Apollo, all that stuff thing. So remember when I said that if Hermes was Eris, then Hermes' brother Apollo was Lucian? I was looking up Apollo's lovers in Greek mythology, and I found something interesting. Because first of all, we know that Lucian was a rake, and he had a bunch of lovers after, Jasminda died and all that. One of his lovers was Cassandra, which I find it funny because me and Eka were also talking about the Tortured Poets Department, Taylor Swift's album, and how they relate to the ACOWAR series, and she has a song called Cassandra. That's a different thing, but it says Cassandra in Greek mythology as Apollo's lover. It says Cassandra rejected Apollo's advances, and because of that, she was punished by being forced to utter true prophecies that nobody believed.
See, that sounds like Elaine.
Exactly! The mother's like, I gave you the best fucking mate in Prythian. Fine. You're a fucking seer, bitch. You're going to sound crazy to everybody else because you are crazy for not wanting this man.
Okay, I just had a really good question for our guest related to this next week. But you're not going to like it.
Oh, no. No! Absolutely not. No. No. I know exactly what you're thinking of. Hell no. Oh my god.
Well, your point made me think about it, so.
Also, can I make mention that Cassandra was also the one that tried to warn everybody about the Trojan horse, and nobody believed her, and she was killed for it because they thought she was crazy.
Aww.
That's what the Taylor Swift song is about too.
Wait a minute. The Trojan horse in ACOWAR sense would have been Feyre's whole girl boss move.
Yes. Yeah.
So
unless there's still a Trojan horse.
No, I know who Cassandra is, but it switched. Ianthe was trying to advance on Lucian and didn't want to, and she kind of knew Feyre was up to some shit, and nobody believed her.
It's true.
But if we're thinking about, say, the future books, and if Elaine is the current Cassandra, that would mean that it makes sense that there's a Trojan horse in or around or near the inner circle that Elaine is going to potentially warn people about. And if it's somebody that Feyre and Rhys trusts, I don't think they're going to believe her. Because they're going to think, it's just Elaine being Elaine. Like they didn't believe her about the Ravens. The Ravens attacked them.
I think it's going to be
maybe more Amren? Jurian?
No, it's going to be more because more is also tied to horses.
Oh, Trojan horse. I had a reel, actually, it was about Prince of Hell, not Valg, but I had a reel pre-Hofas of like a situation where like Elaine goes to Feyre and Rhys is following her and she's like, he's a Prince of Hell / Valg, he's and Feyre's like, don't be silly, Elaine, he's my mate. like they're not gonna believe anything she says if it's somebody that they trust.
It might also be Azriel too.
I thought about Azriel when you're talking about that.
Yeah.
Azriel's gonna like sound the alarm on something and people won't, because he's a spy master and people might not believe him.
Oh.
Which would help him diverge from the Night Court more into the Dusk Court, because that would break his kind of like allegiance a little bit with Rhysand, maybe. I don't know.
Further break it.
Okay, that's what's gonna happen. Azriel's gonna say something. Elaine's gonna say some shit. Elaine's gonna be mad. She's gonna be like, that's not true, this is true, blah, 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 blah. They're gonna be like, Elaine, you're just like mad that it didn't work out with Azriel. Like, calm down, go drink some warm milk. You'll be fine. And she's gonna be like, no, like, he's not gonna stay in the Night Court. And they're like, what are you talking about? He's a spy master. Like, go away, Elaine. You're just upset that he didn't choose you.
No. She's gonna be like, Cassian is going to die. And everyone's gonna be like, yeah, okay, Elaine. And
like the first time they were like, okay, Elaine.
Cassian's gonna be so sick of it. He's like, I'm tired of you predicting my death, okay?
The last time she did, he literally just reached over her and grabbed a muffin and was like, what the fuck?
That was pretty funny. I
was
do
funny.
like that.
I love it.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I did like that.
I also really wanted to go over the dream sequence because remember we were thinking that it was in ACOWAR. It was not in ACOWAR. It was in ACOWAR. So it's the Feyre's dream sequence about the shadow watching her with the wolf. This was chapter 12 of ACOWAR, book 1, before she met Rhys. Isn't that a little strange? A little strange.
Is it? Well, okay, wait. Say that one more time because I got caught up fangirling again.
Daydreaming. I could tell both of you were just like kind of in your head. That's why I was like pausing.
I keep thinking about my questions.
Me too. I'm just like
the creepy dream that Feyre has about the shadow watching her when she kills Andris. And Andris, you know, turning into a man instead of a wolf, and her being like her hands filled with his blood or everything. That was chapter 12 of ACOWAR before she met Rhys. She was sleeping next to Tamlin at the time. It was before she met Rhys. So it says, the snow was falling thick and merciless, already up to my knees as I pulled the bowstring back farther and further until my arm trembled. Behind me a shadow lurked, no watched. I didn't dare turn to look at it to see who might be within that shadow, observing, not as a wolf stared at me across the clearing, just staring, as if waiting, as if daring me to fire the ash arrow. No, I didn't want to do it. Not this time, not again. I had no control over my fingers, none, and he was still staring as I fired, one shot straight through that golden eye. A plume of blood splattered the snow, a thud of a heavy body, a sigh of wind. No, it wasn't a wolf that hit the snow. No, it was a man, tall and well-formed. No, not a man. A high fae with those pointed ears. I blinked, and then my hands were warm and sticky with blood. Then his body was red and skinless, steaming in the cold, and it was his skin that I held in my hands. And then later on, after she wakes up, she says, I could still see that high fae male face down in the snow, my arrow through his eye, red and bloody all over from where I'd cut and peeled off his skin. Bile stung my throat. Not real, just a dream, even if what I'd done to Andris, even as a wolf, ... So before she met Rhys, so I said, knowing what happens later, Feyre being Rhys's mate, it makes me believe that perhaps Rhys did make her kill Andris. And it does make me believe that Rhys had been perpetually in her mind since the time that he saw her painting the dresser. I said, sometimes Feyre's subconscious remembers things. I said at this point, she does think it's a genuine nightmare that she has. But I think that it is a memory, Rhys's memory. We know that Feyre sent images to him when she painted. I think Rhys sent her this memory of his subconsciously when he was remembering it under the mountain, when he was sleeping or daydreaming about what happened. And perhaps the only nightmare portion of it was Andris turning back, unless Rhys somehow demodied her into forgetting about that part, and it surfaced in her nightmare.
I think that was the case, that one.
Because do you remember Tamlin's reaction when he saw like Andris's like guts and entrails and shit? Like the way that he was like,
he was like, damn girl.
The way that he like barged into their cat, like screaming, murderer, murderer, murderer. Like that was like a person. Like that was. Ugh.
Like he knew that they would have to be murdered, but not like not like freaking serial killer style. Like, ooh.
Yeah. So I totally think that Rhys was replaying this, daydreaming, or some sort of replaying of his memory, and that was Feyre's nightmare because their minds have been connected since the time she drew the dresser.
Yeah.
It might be a memory. I agree with that. That could be like Rhys's, but he didn't, you have to admit, he did not make her do anything. He was just watching, right?
He could have. Their minds are connected. The mind bridge, the Demadi mind bridge. Because she says, no, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. And you know what that reminded me of?
What?
Do you know? The fucking goblet before she danced under the mountain? No, I didn't want to drink it, but my traitorous fingers grabbed the goblet. Because it says, no, didn't want to do it. Not this time, not again. I had no control over my fingers. Absolutely none. He made her do it. I swear.
That's
the same way that he made her drink the fairy wine before making her dance. Because she says no 3 times.
Yeah, no means no.
Just drink it. And then she's like, my traitorous fingers grabbed the goblet. I'm like, this is very exact wording from this nightmare to what actually happened in Rhys's presence under the mountain. And then when you think back to like, oh, they had been mates since the first time he saw her painting. They had that mind bridge the first time he saw her painting. He was sending her the image of the night sky through that bridge. That's why she painted it.
It was not free will. Like, even though they were mates, yes, she still had no free will over anything.
So I'm like, that's why I'm like, this is his memory just going down the mind bridge. He's sending her these images, this memory of what actually happened. And that's why I think Tamlin was so fucking upset, because I think he honestly saw like his friends entrails, like not as a wolf, as like a person.
Yeah, I could see that.
But also too, like he knows he was friends with Rhys in his youth. Until what happened had happened. Like they were friends. Rhys was like the older friend, like the older big brother to Tamlin that his older brothers could never provide him with and like Tamlin saw some shit. I think he saw some shit. And
in the warband with him, absolutely. I don't like yielding to that beast of mine. What did Tamlin see Rhys do?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of a mirror from like Rhys being like, oh, I saw what Azriel did to his brothers, where Tamlin would be like, oh, I saw what Rhys did to these people, like, and his actual brothers, because Rhys says like, oh, when we winnowed there, I held their minds while I ripped apart their bodies. Like, dude, you could have just mind melted them. At some point, torture. He gets off on like sadism.
Yeah.
At some points, and that's very much the Valg side of him. But just the fucking wording. It's the exact wording.
Here's the thing. Like he says he doesn't like to give into that, but he gives into it and he really likes it. He actually does it a lot.
Too much. Like during the war.
Like how much control does he actually have on it?
That's why that's why I think he sees Madja so often.
Oh, to keep him in check.
Yeah, I literally think she's quelling the Valg inside of him. But I think because he was thrown into the cauldron, it's not enough anymore. That's why he's unhinged.
So, coming from a place of compassion, that has to really suck for him. Like, he already knows he's a monster and he's a piece of shit, and he's...
Let's just act like one on top of it.
Like, he acts like one on top of it, and he's trying not to. He's trying so hard to be good for Feyre, and he's just not winning at it. He's not. He's trying, but it's just no.
He's trying, not really, but failing. Also,
he's like going through his 5th round of like puberty right now on steroids, because he just became reborn through not even through the cauldron. Like all of the High Lords gave a little kernel and was like, "Here you go, become popcorn, become popcorn," and then up pops.
See, that's.
And he's no longer popcorn. He's gorecorn.
Well, that's the thing that always catches me up with his resurrection, is that Helion. I know I've said it before and I've harped on it before, but it literally
he's the Antichrist. He's the Antichrist.
But Helion straight up tells Feyre it doesn't work like that. And she's like, I don't care, give it to him anyway. And they did. Helion's like, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work like this. And Rhys says like, oh, he gave her some bullshit excuse. He's like, oh, because I was already high fae, like I didn't steal any of their powers. It went back to them after I was revived. Bullshit. Like, I know that you didn't steal their powers. I know it went back to them. I know that that's like true. But what's the consequence? What's your fucking consequence, Rhys?
This is too much like Monkey's Paw. Oh. or like Pet Cemetery. Night Court Cemetery.
Oh my god. Like, because as I've said before, like Aelin gave up most of her power. Nesta, Elaine, and Feyre gave up their humanity. Rhys has his power. Rhys has his life. What did he give up? He gave up control over his Valg.
Maybe.
How did Helion know? I mean, I know they're like friends, but Helion's like, it doesn't work that way. How do you know? You've been a High Lord for like a fucking decade. Like, that's it. Or not even a decade. Like, I don't even know when it happened. Minutes. We don't know when it happened. But you've been a High Lord for 10 minutes. How do you know all of this? Like, you shouldn't even know how to use your own power yet.
Was he close with Cormac?
Well, Helion was supposedly close with Rhys before he became a High Lord for like ages. Which again is weird when he's consistently like threatening the You're gonna threaten your friend's mate?
And his son?
And his son? Well, to be fair, which I think is hilarious, Rhys had no idea Lucian was his son.
Until like Feyre was playing.
Like Feyre had to tell him, he's like, what? I feel so stupid. Yeah, because you are.
Like Pikachu face, like
I could just see that in the mind bridge, him being like how do they keep a straight face when they're talking mind to mind? Like, my face would fucking give me away. I would not be able to handle it. I would not.
I just,
but like, where is Helion? I know Helion's. I know the Day Court has like all the libraries. Like, I need to know if they have like, I don't know. Is it like the Library of Orinth and like the big library that was in Crescent City? And I don't know. Does he have a huge library of like the past that he isn't telling anyone to? Because all of the High Lords, let's be real, they all know their own thing about the past, and they all keep it under lock and key. Nobody's telling anyone anything. And
key point, the Book of Breathings.
I think that's actually going to be a big part of them almost losing the war, the Koshi War, because I think that nobody has communicated ever. Once the courts were split up, they got what they got. They had their own history. They kept their own logs, and nobody talked about anything to anyone else. Like, the Spring Court has the fucking mural in the Starlight Pool, and the Night Court has the pit at the bottom of the library, and the Summer Court had half of the Book of Breathings, and the Day Court has a huge ass fucking library. And it's like, none of you are coordinating what the truth is versus what you guys all have recorded.
Didn't the Winter Court also have something?
I can't remember. I know that their animals might talk, but that's really all I remember.
I feel like they had a building. I remember seeing something in passing that the Winter Court had something that was big.
Maybe. And then the
also,
fucking
what's
forest
in the forest house? Yeah.
the fucking forest house, which is literally underground. It's a fucking bunker underground of fucking secrets. I'm trying to, and then we have the healers from Tog in the Dawn Court.
And we still have the Weaver's Cottage, which
the Middle Orid.
Like nobody has
gone
back to get those artifacts.
Oh, they're
not even the rest of the spies.
We don't know who they belong to. They're probably just assuming that they belong to people that are like long dead, because the Weaver was like 15,000 years old, like Koshi, like all the Death Dogs were.
She was like a kleptomaniac.
I'm still convinced that they're all witches artifacts from. I want Nesta to go there, because we know that Nesta can sense the sentient objects from Hewn City. And that's another thing. The Hewn City trove is equally as sentient as the ones that the Weaver had.
I swear, I think the mirror I think the Ouroboros is a witch mirror.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But I also think that Hewn City might be a witch tower. The witch, just the way that the windows and the way that the light streams in, the way that it's like described, how it's like very little light, but they're like very purposely placed. I feel like it's a witch tower. I don't know, because again, I'm under the impression that the Princes of Hell Hewn City, like Thanatos Hewn City. Me and Olivia, I think, filmed this a while ago, but we realized that like in Crescent City, Thanatos is said to be kind of like the engineer, and like he builds things, and that's kind of what he does. And so they call it the Hewn City, like who Hewn City way back then. And Thanatos is there. Lord Thanatos is there. I feel like he built it. I feel like that's like his ravine layer of hell still. And then I feel like Apollyon and maybe I feel like Apollyon created the library and Thanatos created Hewn City. Because at the bottom of the library is the pit, and Apollyon is literally Prince of the Pit. Which is why originally I thought that Reese was Apollyon, but obviously that's not.
Yeah, he's not Apollyon.
No. But this would explain why Adis has an easy time coming to and from Valaris through the library, because of Apollyon's realm, and they're the closest brothers.
Thanatos is the personification of death, son of Nyx, an older twin brother of Hypnos.
Yeah.
Peaceful death.
I had a random like crack theory that he was Mor's twin, but because like death,
yeah,
whatever, but they don't look alike at all.
Mm-mm.
Thanatos looks more like well, obviously I was gonna say Hunt, but Hunt is his child, so that makes sense. But Thanatos has like the curly dark hair and
and
the dark eyes, which is why I'm like, that kind of reminds me of Fury. Fury doesn't have curly hair, but the dark hair, the dark eyes. But she's like Asian, so then I was like, is Amryn her mom, like her biological mom in that Fae body? I don't know, because we know that she's Fae. It's all confusing. But I'll have to send you my YouTube video on that because I did a whole spiel connecting everything and I can't think of all the points right now, but I was like, Thanatos Union City because it says this in Crescent City and it says this in ACOWAR and blah, 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 and I pulled up all the quotes. I'll have to send it to you. It was a while ago.
Okay, I have Thanatos up. Thanatos is the god of death who carries humans to the underworld after their allotted time has expired. Very similar to the Fates.
Just like the Morrigan, too. She guides soldiers to the afterlife.
Thanatos is the son of Nyx, goddess of night, and the twin brother of Hypnos, the god of sleep. Lord of nightmares.
Court of nightmares. Court of nightmares, yep.
Thanatos is often depicted as a young, pleasant man, sometimes with wings and an extinguished flame. Else, I'm going to butcher this. No, I'm not repeating all of that. No.
So maybe Thanatos here and Morven were all brothers. Maybe it's three brothers. Three brothers, three sisters. I don't know. Wouldn't that kind of make sense? Because if there's three quote-unquote brothers in the Court of Dreams, it kind of makes sense that there's three quote-unquote brothers in the Court of Nightmares, or from the Court of Nightmares. He's the personified spirit of non-violent death. So he would be the opposite of Cassian, who is the Lord of Bloodshed. The opposite of Mor, the soldiers, the bloody deaths. Violent deaths. Which is just hilarious because Thanatos helped take down the Asteri, and that was a very bloody fight. Like, why don't we know that much about him? We like, have obviously we have one like line. Obviously we have one line, and obviously if she fucking forgets that Thanatos was in Hewn City, that's gonna be like my fucking 13th reason, because I need her to be like, oh, this is why Thanatos was in Hewn City. She cannot forget that she put him in Hewn City. Cannot forget. Because he was the one that was always showing up through the portal. So he had to have been in Prythian. And who answered when Bryce went to the astronomer and they contacted Prythian, but Thanatos? He answered. He was in Prythian. He's in Prythian. He's fucking in Hewn City. Even going by the Crescent City canon, he's in Prythian. So, like, he's a big deal, but we don't know who he is. And well, because I love how Apollyon was like, oh, all of our brothers are on other planets waiting for big wars. So I'm like, Thanatos is stationed in Hewn City because they are waiting for the Koshi War. He's waiting for the Koshi War. And Kier knows. Oh, 100%. I want to know what he knows. Like, I want to know what everyone knows because we don't know what anyone fucking knows. Like, all of the fathers know things. Kier, all of the Baron, Helios. Not Helios, Hellion. Hellion? Yes, Hellion. Yeah. Morven and Einar are now dead, so the only person who would know would be Cormac, because it was passed down to him. But yeah, Baron has to know somehow through Lady Autumn. Kier knows, Thanatos knows. I would assume Rhys and Tamlin's father knew shit, but they are also dead, unfortunately. And then it's just very curious that Hybern and Amarantha like were actively trying to take down the older generation. I always found that interesting, but now I realize, like, because they knew everything. They knew everything. That's why they were trying to take them down. It's just because they killed Tarquin's older cousin, who was the High Lord. They killed the older Winter High Lord. They killed the older Dacor High Lord. Amarantha was a little mad about, obviously, Tamlin's father dying, only because he was on their side, but she liked that Rhys's father was dead. So it's like literally all of the last generation is dead except for Kier and Baron. And I wouldn't even really consider Helion the last generation. Him and Lady Autumn are kind of like the middle generation, because there's like the older people, and then there's like... They're like Gen X. And then they're like the middle parents, and then there's like the most recent generation, yeah. Yeah. Because Baron's like 1,000, and Kier is probably almost 1,000, because he's a lot older than Rhys and Mor, if he's Mor's father, right? But then there's like Helion and Lady A, who are he's only an old like stink. Well, Helion and Lady A are only like 600. Like they're only like 100 something years older than the inner circle and everybody. So they're like the parents, like the cool parents. They're the cool parents. And then there's like poor Eris, who's like 500, and he's gonna be like, I'm too young to be a daddy of two. You have no idea how much I want an Eris book just for him to, just for Cormac and Gwen to be his kids. I want it so badly. I'm gonna be so sad if Cormac and Gwen aren't his kids.
Yeah.
And I still don't think there's any, I still don't think there's any distinct possibility of Cormac not coming back. Like maybe I'm just delusional, but
I don't know. I really want him to come back.
it just doesn't make sense if he doesn't. He's the only one that has the rest of the information that can put everything together for everybody. Like he's the missing puzzle piece.
Like it just doesn't make sense why she would bring that up, make a character who's like that, and then just oopsie, he kind of exploded.
And he didn't even explode. It was his own magic. I always say that, like fireball.
Yeah, like self-explosion.
But like I don't even know if it's possible to kill yourself with your own magic. Like Rhys can't Daemati himself. Rhys can't mist himself, can he? I mean, that would be very convenient, but I don't think he can mist himself. So the same way that like Eris's fire doesn't burn Eris, I don't think Cormac's fire would have burned Cormac. Like it just doesn't make sense. Nesta's silver flames aren't cold in her hand. Like they're only cold like through her veins or whatever. And it's just like, I don't think you can turn your own magic on yourself as far as we've seen. Like you can use it as like defensive magic, like shapeshifting and the fire and all that, but I don't think you can like use it to harm yourself, which is, I think, a huge reason why Tamlin is still alive right now. Because if he could have just killed himself, I think he would have.
I think he would have tried many times and just was not able to because the land was not going to let him.
Yeah. And that's why I think he's resorted to like starving himself and just living in beast form and just trying to, you know, disappear from any kind of mortal headspace, which is really sad. I need the characters that deserve their own book are Tamlin, Eris. I want a Vivian and Cal novel. I want
a Lucian novel.
Well, I feel like him and Elaine will have their own, but
I really want an Elaine novel. Like we already had 2 out of 3 sisters. Let's have the 3rd one. It's about time.
That's why I wish she would drop Lucians and Gwynrails at the same time. That would be the best thing ever. Because I don't want to wait for either of them.
I want her to drop something, just period. Like something.
She's gonna be like, guys. She's gonna be like, guys, it's gonna come out in July, and it's the Moore book, and I'm gonna be like, oh.
Hey, it better have some answers.
I know. I'm like, if you're giving us a fucking Moore book, it better have something juicy enough to keep my attention. Because
I still think it's gonna be an Azriel book. I still think it's gonna be an Azriel book. Yeah.
It's gonna be like Azriel and Gwen and the Karen M with Nesta, because Gwen's also connected to Nesta. It's gonna be the whole Dusk thing, and I'm so excited. But Bloomsbury is ticking me off. They're being mean.
They're being really mean.
They know. They have to know when the announcement's gonna drop, and they're just like, let's tease the ACOWAR fans. Because they do it.
They've been teasing for years, and they need to knock it off. Yeah. If y'all are listening, I hope you take notes. It's annoying.
I will never forgive them, which me and Olivia ranted about the other day. But I will never forgive them for doing that promo of Hofast with the background music, and the only thing in the background of the Hofast book was the motherfucking citrus tree. And the only fucking place we see a citrus tree at Crescent City is in Lorin's garden. And Lorin wasn't even in the goddamn book. I'll never forgive them for that.
With no explanation.
That. It was so bad.
With no explanation.
I was like, because we freaked out when they posted that. We're like, oh my God, it's Lorin's citrus tree. Oh my God, she's going to talk about Tamlin. Oh my God, we're going to realize that she's Rhys's sister and she's from Prythian. Was not in the fucking book. Wasn't even at her goddamn son's wedding. I was so
Which was sus.
I was so upset. You have no idea.
That was just suspicious. Like, why would she not be there? That's kind of...
Yeah, especially because Bryce and Lydia were like, oh, we went and we got like all your family and friends and we invited everybody. I was like, Bryce, of all people who has met his mother and knows where she lives, there's no excuse for her not to get his mother. Of all people. Of all people. She remembered to get Lydia's children, but not her brother's mother. Make it make sense, please, because it drives me insane.
It is also possible that
She wasn't
Sarah
there.
forgot. She just forgot that Lorin existed.
Which is ridiculous because she just came back from seeing the hologram of Celine and being like, oh, Celine looks like, and Az is like, Celine looks like Reese's sister. And then Bryce was like, Rune looks just like Reese. What? Put two and two together, girl. You're not a moron. What's happening?
Like, there are no hits. None.
And I'm like,
not of a title, not of who it's by, not oh, this is giving me some inspiration. Oh, this is what's
all we
giving
got
me
is
some
the
ideas.
snow. The snow, and it literally could be any of the three with the fucking
and she was going up north.
Valhan,
and we don't know
Illyria,
if that has anything to do with
oh, she's late. What the hell? I will forever be fucking bitter about that Lorin promo. I will forever be bitter about that. Just talking about it makes me so mad. Like, my blood is boiling right now. I can't even handle it. Like,
I'm bitter about something else, and it's
drop it. What is it?
It deals with her writing. You're a writer. I'm a writer. We understand that you do not info dump. She info dumps. Why? And she gets away with it. Why?
To be devil's advocate, I actually don't mind her info dumps only because we do not get information any other way. Like, this is why we have 5 million questions.
That's not her fault. That's just
but I need the info somehow. So if she's gonna give us info, I would rather her info dump than just not give us anything.
you could like Moore could send like her little magical snow globe of truth over to Crescent City and be like, here, and then all of a sudden they see a vision of Sophie and why we should give a fuck about her. And I'm reading this and I'm expecting to read about Bryce and about Hunt, and I'm like, who the fuck is this Sophie chick? Why should I care about this Sophie chick when I was promised that these two knuckleheads
we're
gonna bone?
Sophie, that was so sad though. I was kind of happy that I got that glimpse into them, just because it is sad.
However, before we got up to that point, I did not know who this person is. I went going in expecting Bryce and Hunt. I don't know who this Sophie chick is.
It's a prologue,
or why she's important.
It's a prologue.
That was not a prologue. It was like a whole ass chapter. It was like 2 chapters worth of a prologue. Like, that's too long for a prologue.
To be fair, this probably sounds awful, but I literally could not give 2 fucks about the kids in the Kavala camp. I'm sorry. I felt bad for Emil only. I felt bad for Emil only because I immediately liked Cormac and Sophie. So then when they were
who
running,
are these people?
So when they were running and like Lydia was after them, I was like, oh my god, don't kill the child. Oh my god, don't kill these cute people who are in love. Like, that really got me. But like the whole thing about, oh, and Emil was here in the camp and Sophie was here in the camp and they had to get all these kids. And I was like, I don't care. Which is weird because it's also kind of... You don't care. I didn't care, but it was also a mirror to like Gwen's story with the Sangerva kids. I was like, why couldn't you have just done it that way, where it was like a backstory instead of a prologue? Mind you,
Sarah will not go forward with a manuscript if she's not all about it and doesn't think it's perfect. Girl, that was perfect. You info dumped like the first 50 pages about this Sophie chick that I don't know and don't care about. I want to see Bryce and Hunt.
Okay, the minute that she got... Okay, listen. I was hooked the minute that she got in the car and like, did she sit on Cormac's lap? I forget. Maybe it was just in my head that she sat on his lap. But anyway, she gets in the car and she's like all over Cormac and she's like, okay, Silverbow. And I was like, who's Silverbow? I mean, who's Silverbow? He sounds hot right now. And he's like, yeah, you go, girl. You did this. We're good with this mission. And I was like, what mission are we going on? And I was
I was just, I'm still trotting through it. I'm just like, I can't.
Oh my god, I loved it.
She can do amazing scenes. She can write amazing scenes. Page 1 of Crescent City 1, right? Great. I was like, okay, there's a wolf at the door, and I'm like, what's this wolf? I'm interested. That caught my interest, and I kept reading because Danica had a place in this plot. I would eventually like Sophie, but not in the beginning when I'm expecting one thing and I'm getting this other thing that sounds like a completely different book. And it's like, why should I give 2 fucks about this person?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm the opposite. Like, I because like we ended Crescent City 1 on like a pretty big note, and so I feel like
in order
to introduce the new characters, you can't just jump right into the plot with the mains, because then if you start with the mains, then nobody's gonna give a shit about the sides. So I feel like you do kind of have to start with the new characters just so that they get the most page time and people can relate to them as much as the main characters. So I didn't mind that. I just didn't like the pages about like how they were sneaking through the camp, but like that was annoying, and like the fence, and like then I was like, oh, so we did this because we had to see what Sophie's magic was, and then obviously later we were like, oh, Sophie's magic was important because she's a Thunderbird and all this stuff. So that's why it was important. It did end up being important, but at first I was
eventually,
yeah.
like 50 some pages later.
But that's why there was the backstory, and I feel like there wasn't another appropriate place to put that within the plot. So I think she kind of had to do that first, even though it was weird. But I was more interested in like obviously the romance aspect of it, other than like the mission aspect of it. But yeah, I'm kind of mad that they just buried Sophie under the dust court, because poor Sophie.
I mean, I will say this though, I was very happy to see Bryce and Hunt on a date, and it reading very natural and how they react, and you know, they were there for her friend. I like that. If she started out with that, cool. I know these characters. I don't have to be introduced to anyone new unless it's through these other characters. You know, when you go to somewhere and you don't know anybody and you're at a party, you're like, who the fuck are these people? And then someone you know comes in and says, hi, let me introduce you to this person. Then it's like, okay, cool.
But see, here's the problem. Bryce didn't know, like, she knew who Cormac was, but she didn't know Cormac. So we couldn't really be introduced to him through her eyes. And in order to actually, like, fucking care who he was when he showed up to the party, we had to know a little bit of who he was just as a person, not through anybody else's eyes. Like we got with Bryce.
I didn't even make the connection.
And you didn't make the connection?
I didn't make the connection because I was bored to tears.
I was like, oh, this is Sophie's Silverbow lover.
I was struggling so hard to keep my focus.
I was like, he popped in and I go, this is the guy that we were introduced to in the first page. And then it all made sense to me. So I was kind of excited, but I'm like, yeah, we needed to know like his life as a person, as opposed to just Bryce, who was automatically with anybody new, just very aggressive and untrusting. And especially like with the stories that she's heard from Rune about Cormac, obviously with the ordeal and everything, she's automatically going to hate him. So instead of like the reader just being like, oh, well, if Bryce automatically hates him, we automatically hate him, we got kind of an insight into who he actually was, as opposed to what Rune and Bryce was saying, which is what I kind of liked. So I don't know if people have the same opinion as me or the same opinion as you, but I liked the way she did it. I just didn't really like how the camp scene drawled on a little too long.
But that's my point. There are scenes where they drawled on, and like we know she's a good writer. We know she's a good writer. That wasn't her best.
I know.
That wasn't her best. She has the ability to create almost cinematic scenes. Like I felt that way while reading Assassin's Blade. Amazing. And when she's in the Red Desert, oh my god. But then this,
and when the monster attacks Micah and Bryce is like trying to heal him and calling 911 in the alley, that was like, oh my. I'm still bitter that was fucking Micah that she saved. She got fucking sliced and diced for goddamn Micah, and I hate that so much. I hate that it was him. That's another thing that I can't stand in the fandom, that theory that like Hunt was the one who killed Danica. I'm like, let it go. It's not true. Because they're like, he worked for Micah and somebody had to actually give them the synth. And I don't think Micah did it. Like Micah said he did it. And they're like, well, the whole thing was that everyone, you know, begs Hunt before they die, like not to die. And then like they had the whole thing with like Danica on the camera being like, please, please. And they're like, it was Hunt that killed them. I was like, no. It was Micah setting it up to look like Hunt. That was the whole thing. Like that was the whole plot. Like you're missing the plot here.
Which happens so often in this fandom.
I know. And the people that still cannot let go of the fact that Bryce and Asriel are not mates, they piss me off. Sarah J. Maas.
I didn't get that impression that they were.
There's whole accounts still screaming that they're mates. Like Sarah got online September 2023, looked in a fucking camera and said, yes, they're mates. Yes, they're endgame. To everybody. Because she was shocked that was one of the questions from Christina Lorin. They were like, oh, people want to know if Bryce and Hunt are actually mates. And actually her answer was, yes, they're mates, they're endgame. And she says, well, I know that there's a thing in this fandom where you know, people think that I'm automatically going to default to the fact that it's never the first love interest. So I purposely wanted it to be the first love interest.
And people still argue.
Yeah. She said that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
dumb.
I'm like, so
judgment,
ACOWAR, not the
are
first
dumb.
love interest, but Crescent City, the first love interest. Yeah. So
Just dumb.
it's just so annoying. I just want an announcement. Please just tell us whose fucking book it is, please.
Or like
Sarah?
what trope she's working on. Like what mythology is she working on? Maybe give us some crumbs. We're not asking for the whole cake. We're not even asking for a slice of cake.
Give
We're
us a quote
for
and we can
crumbs.
run with that for 5 months. We can
What
theorize
color
that
is
one
the
fucking
cake?
quote.
Like what color is the cake? What flavor is it?
Like, Jesus Christ, woman, just something.
Like,
That's
I
why
understand
everyone
you're
was
trying
like, get back to your desk when she was at the concert.
I mean, I'm happy for her. I'm happy for her son. You know, cool, but woman.
4 years in February. It was February, right? ACOWAR was released in February, right? Or was it September? Am I getting too confused?
I thought it was released in the summer, in July.
Ha! February 16th, 2021. I was right. 4 years in fucking February, Sarah. But that's why I theorized that it was going to be November, because ACOWAR was announced middle of November 2020 and released February of 2021. 2 months. 3 months later.
I mean,
3 months later.
There's websites saying that the release date of book 6 is late 25, early 2006, which
nobody knows. Nobody fucking knows.
Sense. It would be like 10 years after the first book. 10 years.
Yeah. That doesn't make sense to me, though, because in the Today Show interview, which was literally like February 1st of this year, she said there's going to be a year to a year and a half between every book. So if we're going with a year and a half, that would be July of next year, because HYPAXIA was January 31st of this year.
Why the delay? She wants to ensure that the story meets her high standards.
No shit. Yeah, because people were pissed.
I think our standards are just a tad higher.
I know. But also because, like, as much praise that HYPAXIA got, there was, like, almost more shit talk about it. And people didn't like it. And she literally wrote it in 5 weeks because she didn't like her first draft that had already gone through editing and everything. She's like, never mind, scrapped the whole fucking thing and then wrote it all over in 5 weeks. Forgot the Lorin plot line. I like HYPAXIA. I'm not going to say I hate it. I do like it because it ties into the Dust Court. It ties into Prythian. The Celine thing was very much anticipated. We knew that Helena had another sister. She did tie up a lot of threads.
Sister was at least mentioned.
Yeah, we did get a lot of what we were supposed to get. And again, as I've said, I don't think anybody could have wrapped up everything in that one book with the Princess of Hell and the Val and all this shit. But I do think that it was rushed. I do think that if she took a little more time, she could have, you know, like even HYPAXIA. She was barely in the book. She was thrown in like 2 scenes just to help make the antidote. And
it could have been better. It makes me wonder what did the original draft, what was so bad about it?
People were saying that on TikTok today. They're like, I want to see the fucking first draft. Like, I want to see the fucking first draft.
I want to see the edited draft.
Yeah.
Why did she scrap it? What was so bad about it that you thought this was better?
Yeah. She was like,
you can do better.
Didn't like how the story was playing out, how the story played out. Okay, but now, like, we just have more questions than answers. And I think that's the only thing that really bothers me about HYPAXIA is that while we did get a bunch of answers, we got bombarded with even more questions. So on top of all the questions that we had from ACOTAR, ACOMAF, ACOWAR, ACOSIF, now we have all the questions from HYPAXIA on top of all of that, because you never tied in any of the threads that you left in ACOWAR and ACOSIF into the Dust Court story yet, which means she's gonna have to do it in the future books, which I don't know how she's gonna kind of succeed in that if it's not also a crossover, because granted, since the Crescent City book had to be mostly Crescent City, the ACOTAR book has to be mostly ACOTAR. And it's going to be a fine line because HYPAXIA was already said to be a crossover. So it's just, you have to tie up all of your threads. And I know personally I sound like a hypocrite because I'm also a pantser and I have a lot of trouble a lot of trouble keeping track of all
Well,
of my threads,
you
even
can
with my
understand
fanfic.
where she's coming from. That's your power. You can understand where she's coming from. It doesn't necessarily make you a hypocrite. It's just,
Like,
there's
I get
different
it's
ways
hard.
to pants. Yeah, it's hard.
But
you get it.
But my annoyance comes in the fact that she has said in interviews like, oh, my editors have a big binder of all my lore and all of this and all of that. And okay, if that's true, then why aren't you using it?
Why are they
Because you're not
sabotaging the
actually
work?
tying anything up. You're giving us more questions than answers. And this goes all the way back to the first book. We have shit from ACOWAR 1, 2009, guys. ACOWAR 1 that still isn't answered. What the fuck is the Starlight Pool? Who drew the mural? I know the mural's going to tie into the Dust Court, but
if she remembers.
If she remembers. What's the Starlight Pool? Anything with Tamlin's background that ties into this future storyline where he is right now. We have Amarantha and her working for Hybern. We have no idea when Hybern came, except we can assume, I guess, that it was 15,000 years ago with everybody else. But no idea why Amarantha wanted Tamlin. No idea why any of this shit started. We don't know what any of the parents know. We don't know, when did people realize that there were thin places in Prythian? And Tamlin's Cave is a thin place. Book 1. Didn't know that till Hofas. I don't think anybody but us actually connected that. Because every time I bring it up, they're like, what do you mean his cave was a thin place? I'm like, yeah, it's said in ACOWAR that the monsters are coming through the cave. Lucian yells at the adder for coming through the cave. He's like, stop sending your ilk through the cave. It's a sacred place. Sacred place. The thin places. And it's like, nobody, like, I know that she's trying to be clever, but nobody is going to pick up these threads that you dropped 10 years ago. Because a lot of people are more casual readers, and a lot of people are not going to read the series 12 times like us to pick up all the little pieces. So you need to be a little more obvious with your things, because, like, as much as we love picking up all the clues, the general reader is not going to be doing that. So you need to be a little bit more obvious for everybody who just reads casually.
It's just,
I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but it's frustrating.
It's very frustrating.
As amazing as the series can be and is with how she ties everything into everything, she does on the larger scale, but I feel like she really drops a lot of the little details that just, when they don't connect, and then it just confuses everybody more.
I think she's between a rock and a hard place, honestly.
And I also don't know why she made it so awful for herself in terms of the fandom, like what she did to Tamlin, but not even what she did to Tamlin. It was her, kind of throwing in the Elreal bullshit and in that bonus chapter, and then adding in Gwen and all this stuff, and then her literally saying after ACOWAR, like, oh, I know the ship wars are going to get so much worse. Like, why would you want that for yourself? Because
why would you want that?
You're only making people more angry. You're only causing more strife in the fandom. It's not like we're one big happy family. It's like we're this huge dysfunctional family that will kill each other.
I mean, back when I was into Harry Potter and before the whole debacle with, we will not say her name. Back when I was more into Harry Potter, right? It was more of a family thing. Even though there were people who loved Snape, even though there were people who liked this character and not this character and all this character and all these ships, right? This, like, even with the Twilight series, yeah, there was strife, but nothing like this. Nothing. And like I can't
tell if it was just her being in like a mentally tough place where she was just like, okay, well,
I give up.
No, not really like give up, but I feel like if she was in like a mentally tough place and she thought that it would take her longer to put out these books, I feel like
that could be possible.
I feel like maybe she was thinking like, okay, what can I do so that my sales don't go down? What can I do to keep the energy up? And usually the number one thing is like create a ship war, create arguments, create things that can be,
release different editions to Target, Walmart, Books A Million.
You can create, or even just scenes that a lot of people portray very differently based on how they grow up and how the things that they've been with in their life. And, like the Tamlin lovers versus the Rhys lovers, and the Tamlin haters versus the Rhys haters, and then the Elreals versus the Gwynreals versus the Aleutians versus the Moor lovers, the Moor haters, all this stuff. And I feel like she was like, okay, well, to keep the energy up and to not lose sales and to not completely, have everything go stagnant, which would basically do horrors to her motivation. She's like, if I create a little bit of strife, they will kind of build on it themselves and I won't lose sales. And then I can take as long as I need with the next book without worrying that, everyone's going to drop it and not care. I feel like it was kind of like her fail safe in a way.
That could be.
Because like we were saying, how she was just in a very bad place mentally during ACOWAR, and I feel like after ACOWAR, she put out that bonus chapter, and she was like, "Oh, I know that the ship wars are gonna get worse." And like to me, and to a lot of the Gwynreals, the bonus chapter was very obvious, but to people that were already hardcore shipping Elriel and already, shipping Aleutian and stuff like this, she knew that it was going to create questions. She knew that it was going to create, harder discussions. And even arguments, and she knew that it would keep the fandom going and keep the energy up, and then she could basically take as long as she needed without worrying about, everything going.
But she's running out of time. That's the thing. Like, so I'm looking at something and it says, I'm working on the next ACOWAR novel. I'm drafting it, and that's all I will say. On September 27th, 2023.
Yeah.
Then in the beginning of April, we get
drafting ACOWAR what?
And it's like, girl, I thought you'd been drafting.
And the Today Show interview, February 1st, she said, right now I'm working on the next ACOWAR novel. So
which means that she's been drafting and she's not happy with it.
So she's been drafting for a year.
I mean,
a year and a month.
I mean, we've also been drafting on our stories for
2.5 years. Yeah. 2.5 years.
Oh, no, longer.
Which, whatever.
To me, longer.
Yeah. Like, the thing is transparency. Like, just tell us.
Right. Transparency.
Just tell us.
Like,
just tell us, oh, I'm having a hard time and blah, 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 and whatever. The fandom's going to be here. Like,
and it's like, okay, cool. She's having
cool,
a hard time.
as long as we know, as long as we have a timeline, but like all this just like fucking everyone over, like Bloomsbury, and it's like, just like, say something. Anything.
Say, hey, I'm having a hard time. I'm having some struggles. There's some disagreements with me and my team about it. Just that alone. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But even in the 2017, I think. Yeah, even in the 2017, which this is why I don't know if I totally believe her in her interviews a lot of the times, but in her 2017 interview between ACOWAR and I think Tower of Dawn, she mentioned that she was already working on, I think she said her next 3 books. She had already known what they were. She had already started, writing them. And that was literally Kingdom of Ash, ACOWAR, and this next ACOWAR book. She says ACOWAR 5 and 6 and the next Tog book or something. So she pretty much already knew whose book it was going to be. Like, she said, and that was like 7 years ago. She said that she was already working on them. So, and then in 2021, yes, 2021, right after ACOWAR, she had that interview where she says that which we've been over, she says that she drunk texted her editor ages ago, her old editor now, ages ago, with how she wanted to do a Azrael book and a Lane book and a Moore book. And she basically the next day, she got clearance for all of them. And those are the 3 books that we're waiting for.
And she's like, what are you talking about?
yeah. And they're like, you're all good to go. She literally pitched all 3 of them, which is why.
In public, drunk.
I know. Which is why I just like, Elriel is just, you make no sense. But anyways. So then she said in the end of 2022, after she had gotten her new editor, womp womp, that she was interviewed again, and the interview said, oh, like, I know that you had told us that, like, you got clearance for the next 3 books and you had, pitched them to your old editor, like, have your plans changed at all? And she said, no, none of those plans had changed. So the books that she originally pitched are the books that she's going to be releasing. So it's an Azrael book, an Elaine book, and a Moore book. Those are the next 3 that she's contracted for. And as of yet, she hasn't expanded her ACOWAR. What do you call it? Her, what do you call it? Fucking contract. Thank you. She hasn't expanded the contract yet, but
I think it's possible that with her life, with so much that has changed, like she now is the mom of 2 kids. That takes a toll.
But at the same time, it's like everyone is a working mother. Like, your one job is to write books. You're rich enough to afford a nanny, like, and your husband helps you out. So I feel like that's really not an excuse. You can't be like, oh, I'm a mom, I can't do my job. Like, everyone can be a parent and do their job. Like, that's just how the world works now. You figure it out. I mean, I'm not a parent, obviously, but like all my aunts are parents, my mom's a parent. Both of my parents are cops. They have opposite schedules and they still managed to raise 4 kids. Like, it's completely possible. And Sarah, like, as a writer, she can literally stay home. She can write in her office, which is what she does, admittedly, a lot
Unless
of the time.
she's just lacking motivation, which is possible too.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, shit, I have my days. I have my days where I have no motivation, and it's like, I've been working on this for way too long, and I'm not getting anywhere. Yeah, we know what that's like.
I literally, the first 6 months of this year, 7 months of this year, I didn't write anything for my book, so I get it. But the thing that bothers me, again, is the transparency, where I don't know if what she's saying is the truth or if she just thinks it up on the spot, because, like you said, it could absolutely be a lack of motivation. But then in that September interview last year with Christina Lorin, she says, I am obsessed with writing this book. I had to even put off my kids' little bake sale, and I just had to lock myself in this room and write this book because it was like my best friend. I'm so obsessed with it. So if you're that obsessed with this book, that you're
driving herself crazy,
that you're like locking yourself in your thing and you're so excited about it, and it's like your best friend, and it's like really exciting you, as you say, it's not drafted after a year. I'm confused.
Unless this is going to be an even like thicker book,
which I would absolutely love. I have no qualms about her giving us a 2,000-page book. Like, I wish if Hope-Ass was a 2,000 or 3,000 page book and we got everything answered, I wouldn't care as long as everything was answered.
So, okay, I have a theory. Since I still think that Az is going to be the next character focused.
His
is going to be the biggest book because Wingspan. Biggest book.
Because that makes sense, because if we're right about him being the Triquetra of power, there's all 3 sides of him. And then there's the Dusk shit, and then there's his mate shit, and then there's the shit with Elaine, and there's the shit with Nesta, and the shit with Cassian, and the shit with Reese. Like, Az's book has to be a thick book. Thick-ass book.
That would explain why she's still drafting. I mean, maybe it's just that big of a book. We don't know.
Tell us, Sarah. Is it a 1,500 page book? Just tell us. I would get so excited. I love Az so much. I have seen so much Az hate lately, and it's really upsetting me.
I mean, I can it kind of makes a little bit of sense, but at the same time, it's like we also don't know that much about Az either. To be fair, we also don't know that much about Moore, but
but that's what I'm saying. Like, you can literally take a bad scene of any character and be like, okay, this is what defines them for me, and I hate them. Like, all of them have that scene. All of them.
They all do, except Lucien, because he's a good boy.
I love Lucien. Lucien did.
I love him. I loved him since the first page.
First time he walked on the page. Oh, I loved him. I was like, who's this?
I'm like, why is she wasting her time with? I'm like, why is she wasting her time with Tamlin? Yeah, he's gorgeous and he's nice and he's a dreamboat, but get you a sassy redheaded man.
Lucien did come right out the bat insulting her, so he's like, this scrawny thing took down Andros. Are you fucking kidding me?
Look, that creates just enough tension for her to get just a little bit bitchy, and then boom, enemies to lovers.
This bitch was terrified for like forever, but yeah, I just I don't know. I love Az. Az just, again, Azriel and Tamlin are fucking foils. Like, I know people say that Reese and Tamlin are, but I feel like Azriel and Tamlin are more. They're just very similar. Like, their trauma basically just stems from being not loved and kind of abandoned all the time.
Yeah, and like
they just want to be loved. They just want to be loved.
Like, they get loved for about 2 seconds and then they're dropped on their ass.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like,
it's so sad. That's why.
And both are like underappreciated powerhouses.
But
you notice that?
And I could go off on a tangent. I won't. But like, that's why I love Gwen and Azriel's dynamic, because she sees through him. She challenges him. She banters with him. She makes him laugh. She even treats his shadows like separate beings as they are. Not even the inner circle does that. So it's like there has to be they have to have a mate bond where she can just, see him more than anybody else. And the fact that Reese and Cassian are both like, oh, us is different, we don't really know why. It's like, so you don't care to know why? Like, I thought he was your brother. Do you really care that much about him, or do you just like saying you do? Because they never question anything. That's why when Gwen was like, they call you a shadow singer, do you sing? And he's like, what? Blah, 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 blah. And she was like, okay, yeah, but do you sing? Like he was trying to blow off the question. And she was like, but you didn't answer my question, bitch. Do you sing?
Right. Like she's like,
I love that
know.
she challenges him and banters with him and like making him laugh. Like I love that scene so much. And that was another thing I actually meant to bring up the other day, which I forgot, but the fact that Azriel's cold, right? And how when he gets to the training ring and it's freezing cold and Gwen is training and he's like, it's freezing cold out here or whatever. And she's like, yeah, but once you get moving, you stop recognizing it or you stop feeling it. And I was like, see, once she's his mate, the cold never bothered her anyway.
Oh my God.
I'm like, she doesn't care. I don't know. And then if she's a little bit part light singer and he's like part Prince of Hell and like they both just have these like bad genes, but they're good people. That's like another mate thing. I just love that so much.
Have you noticed that he's a redhead and deals with the water as a water nymph? And Nessian, also redhead, also snarky, is a merman.
Tharion, yeah.
That's interesting.
That's interesting.
It's interesting.
But also Tharion is like the Lucian of Crescent City. When Tharion was introduced, I was like, it's Water Lulu.
Instead of Fire Lulu, it's Water Lulu.
In my head, I was calling him Water Lulu until I could remember his name. And I was like, it's Tharion. Lucian and Tharion. Come on.
That's true.
Is Tharion Lucian's twin? That would be interesting. Fire Lulu and Water Lulu.
Maybe. He has a stripe as a scar, and he has tiger stripes on his tail.
Tiger stripes. No, the tiger and the fox. That would be cute.
I want them to be besties.
They would literally vibe so well. Because honestly, they have the same arc too. Snarky, fun, nicknaming people, and then they get assaulted and scarred and used by women, and now they're depressed and they want to die. And Elaine is not really wanting Lucian right now. Sathia left to go back to her old lover after they got married.
So with that parallel, that already proves that Elaine's book is not next. Yeah. And I think that with the crossover, when it is mentioned with Nesta, even though Nesta's story is continuing, it was almost like a passing of the torch from Nesta to Az.
Oh, yeah.
But I still think we're going to get more from Nesta.
I appreciated I don't know if I said this on here the other night. I was tired, but I appreciated the Sathia retcon. Out of all the retcons that SJM has done in any of the series, I appreciated the Sathia retcon the most. Because I guess you could say that Sathia was the Nesta / Elaine of Crescent City. Because she started out as the cardboard cutout of the annoying, not evil, but like the annoying sister that was super materialistic and bitchy and didn't really care about anyone but herself, at least in her brother's eyes. And then in Hofas, it was like her ordeal was like losing the love of her life, and she only pretended to want to date all these men just to keep her father at bay, and she rejected all of them because she still loved Colin. And I just really liked how it shows that, first of all, like a specific perspective is always going to be biased, like cough cough Thera's, but like the fact that like the frat pack were always talking about, oh my God, Sathia, she's such an annoying bitch, and thank God my dad didn't make me have to marry your sister, and oh, my sister, and blah blah blah. And it's like Sathia as a person is like completely different than what her mask was, which again, SJM and her character masks. But yeah, I really liked Sathia and Hofas, and I was really glad that she changed her from like a cardboard cutout of like a super pissy, annoying little sister to like a deeper person. I liked that.
Yeah.
I liked all of her scenes with Tharion. It was so unexpected. Like, this is the type of stuff that nobody can predict. Like, even us, nobody would have predicted a marriage of convenience with Sathia Hawthorne and fucking Sathia Flynn and Tharion Kenos. Like, who would have thought that they were going to get married in HOFAS? Nobody. Fucking nobody. So that just makes me think, like, what is she going to do with Nessian? What is she going to do? Like, what are they going to do?
We still don't know what happened about the mating ceremony, if it even happened at all. 7 months went by, and it's not mentioned even once. Not even by Az.
I fight with people every day about that goddamn fucking mating ceremony because they're like, it happened. Of course it happened. Of course it happened. Of course it happened. We didn't see Rhys and Feyre's either. I said, no.
It was mentioned.
But Rhys and Feyre's was mentioned. We have a whole scene of it being mentioned. We have them wearing mating bands. Cannot get into this again because I'm going to go off. But I fight with people all the time about this on Facebook, on Instagram, on Tumblr, TikTok. Like, everybody is so fucking convinced that this shit happened, and it didn't, because if it happened, it would have been discussed.
It would have been discussed. Bryce would have saw a band.
And everyone's like, well, Bryce calls them mates. Bryce doesn't fucking know them. She's assuming they're mates. Because Cassian smells like Nesta, because they fucking fuck. Like, that's why she's assuming they're mates. That's why Ember assumes they're mates, too. Like, and because Nesta's like, oh, that's my mate. Nesta tells them. Nesta doesn't actually know. Nesta doesn't even know who she is, right? So why are we... I love Nesta, but her narrative is just as biased as Feyre's. Which is why I say when she's like, oh, Elaine belongs in spring, and I am Cassian's mate, and it's like, you don't know this. You don't even know
for sure.
You don't know who possesses you when you scry. You don't know what half your powers are. You don't know.
You don't know whose hand was on your back when you saved your little sister.
Girl, yeah. That's another thing with Cassian. Him not telling her that was the mother. And also, how the fuck does he know, actually? That just kind of wiggled its way into my head. How does he know?
He's kind of dumb.
But how does... No. How does he know?
That's about what I'm saying. Mother's... He's kind of dumb. Like, how does he know? He's not the sharpest tool in the shit, okay?
No, but maybe when it comes to when it comes to the mother with Nesta, like, Nesta's feeling it, right? So then how's, like, it's not a physical thing. So how is Cassian knowing that the mother is putting her hand on her and stuff? That doesn't make sense. That's confusing.
It doesn't, and
I don't think Nesta ever told him, like, oh, the mother warned me not to jump in with the Kelpie, and the mother helped me save Feyre. I don't think she actually tells him that.
Because they don't talk.
Yeah. They have
terrible communication issues, just like Feyre and Tamlin, but maybe worse.
Oh, yeah. But then at the end of ACOWAR, he's like, oh, Nesta has a connection with the mother. The mother. How the fuck do you know, though?
He assumed. Just like...
But how is he even assuming if he's not feeling it? Like, that's confusing. That's weird.
He's pious. Because he wants to believe that they're mates.
He wants to believe that he was making out with a mother when she was scrying. Cassian does have mommy issues.
He has some mommy issues, and he's a very physical being.
Yeah.
Does not do emotions well. And Nesta is nothing but emotion. Like, I'm not even saying that from a sexist point of view. Like, Nesta is a deeply emotional person. Yeah. And I love her for that. I am so happy that we finally have a female character who does not have the emotional capacity of a teaspoon.
And the fact that Feyre even says that, like, Nesta feels more deeply than any of us. Like, I was shocked that she said that.
She says that, but then she treats her like shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she's just losing her touch in her writing it.
I just don't understand why you can't just have Bloomsbury be like, look, it might be another year, it might be another 2 years. Like, or even if the book is upcoming, oh, hey, here's a teaser, or here's the couple that it's about. Like, literally just fucking anything.
Say you have health problems, like she did that one time with her wrist.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay, that's good to know. She has issues with her wrist, and she had to have surgery.
If you're writing that much, like, it makes sense.
Yeah, like, that was helpful, because it's like, okay,
now we know. Yeah.
Now we know. Thank you for telling us. But no, there's nothing. Other than we went to a concert. Okay.
I was like annoyed, like, I know that she doesn't like posting on social media because of what happened before, but you can't post on like Callan May, which was like a big thing in your first book when it's like gonna like however many years old, and like you don't post on the anniversary, and you don't post on just like major events that happen in your book. Like, but then you're gonna be like, oh, 2 million followers, and then you're gonna have the weird numbers in the picture, like Easter eggs, like Taylor Swift, and then do nothing with them at all. Like, it's just frustrating.
I mean, maybe those are the teasers, but they're very vague. Very, very vague.
Would be April 2nd. That would be a year. The 4 and the 2.
I'd be happy if it came out on my birthday.
When's your birthday?
February 2nd. Happy birthday to me.
Okay, can you imagine if she like drops the announcement on the same day that we film with our guest? How exciting would that be?
We would need like 2 minutes of just all 4 of us screaming. And then just edit it out.
Even more so if Sarah was just like, fuck the fandom, it's a whole ass 1,000-page Tamlin book. I'd eat that shit up.
All 4 of us would be like,
eat that shit up.
We would be so happy.
Oh my god. I love it. I love it. Yeah, people go nuts. Like, I look for Easter eggs and everything because she loves Taylor Swift. So she wants to be like Taylor Swift. She wants to do Easter eggs, but like none of her Easter eggs fucking pan out to anything, and it's frustrating me. Yeah, we have the 2 and the 4. So it could either be February 4th or April 2nd.
Sarah J. Maas updates. This morning, Bloomsbury confirmed that they do not expect to release any new SJM books by February 28th, 2025.
Until after February 28th, yeah. But that's release the books. That doesn't mean that she can't drop an announcement. Because you would need the announcement before the books anyway. Because if you think about it, if she drops the announcement in November, she could still publish in like April, May, June.
Margot Robbie and the ACOWAR obsession. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's like, come on, Sarah. I felt like.
I hope she's doing okay. I mean, all this stress we're giving her.
I know.
All the stress that we're probably giving this poor lady.
I know. Like,
all the stress that the rest of the fandom is putting on her.
In my head, I'm like, I would fucking die to be as famous of an author as Sarah J. Maas. But, like, I'm not even famous, and I know the DMs I get on the daily just for, like...
I would be a hot mess if I was ever as popular as her.
Oh, me too, but it would be fun. I guess it would be a little fun.
I would be a nervous wreck.
Anxiety through the roof, but still... I mean, I feel like it would keep the motivation up. It wouldn't be like, oh, fuck you guys. Like, I don't know.
It wouldn't so much be, screw you guys.
And also, the way that she changed her website to be pink and orange, which is Elaine and Lucian's colors, with the little flame in the background.
Oh.
It has the...
Hold on to me.
It has the... Look, it's pink. And it has the flame in the background.
Or is that silver? Is that Nesta's
no,
silver
it's an orange
and
flame.
flames?
It's an orange flame with pink around it. It's very much Lucian coded, which is why I was like confused, because I literally thought it was going to be an Azrael book, and that's when I started having the theories of, okay, maybe it's going to be the Lucian book with Tamlin because he needs to heal before the Koshi War, and that's why I keep going back and forth.
I'm second guessing. No, it's going to be as with Thanatos. I think they have to go through Thanatos before they can do the Koshi Wars.
Yeah, you would think. I don't know.
I mean, that would make sense.
Well, you would think the first step would be discussing what the fuck happened with Bryce. If she just does not have them discuss this and all that shit happened off page, I'm gonna be kind of frustrated. Because as far as we know, Az and Nesta didn't tell Reese shit, which I kind of love. Which I kind of absolutely love.
I might have to get going soon.
Yeah, me too.
Dinner's cooking.
I have like an hour until I have to get ready for work, so I should probably take a nap.
okay, so on the website, I see that there you are. I've been looking for you, and it sparkles, and it's a bubble, which I can only imagine is the magical truth snow globe that Moore has.
Bubble. But it's pastels. That's how I'm like, it's pastels. That's like Elaine coded.
It is very decor because it has
day,
the blue,
dawn,
it has
dusk.
the pink, it has the orange. Yeah, it's dawn and dusk, dawn and day.
Yeah. But then if you go to like, where is it? Hold on. Is it material?
Who is your favorite mate in person? I always get Lucian, with the exception of.
Me too. Me too. I keep like, oh yeah, if you go to the A Court of Thorns and Roses page, it comes up and it's literally pink and orange. That's like Elaine and Lucian.
Listen. I mean, I don't know. It still could be that one version of Nesta's book, because isn't the book cover those colors other than silver and?
There's no pink. It's just orange.
There's a little bit of pink.
I mean, on Nesta's book, there's no pink.
Yeah.
No.
A little bit.
No. I'm looking at it right now. It's just orange and yellow. It's orange and yellow. And then the black version is black and silver. But like the Throne of Glass page is dark blue. And the Crescent City page is pale blue. So like,
I don't know.
I know. It's weird. It's weird.
Let's pray for a announcement.
Anything, Sarah. Anything, Sarah.
Even like, oh, my bad. I got into a car accident and I was comatose for like 3 months.
Okay, first of all, who would have thought? Who would have thought that we would have the announcement that we have before she had the announcement for ACOWAR 6? Not me. I wouldn't have thought of that. I wouldn't have ever believed. Can't wait for you guys to find out. We're so excited. We're so excited.
Should we drop a hint or not yet?
I've actually
we kind of already dropped hints.
I've been dropping a very kind of non-subtle hint on the page with our
all right,
stories,
then we're good.
So
we're good. We're good.
If you guys don't know that I run on Easter eggs by now, then there's no hope for you.
It's like the Easter bunny.
I'm the Easter egg queen.
Toodaloo.
Bye. Bye. Hi, we're back and we're on our bullshit today. So if you guys like when we're a little more angry, today's your lucky day.
We're angry.
We all woke up on the wrong side of the napping bed today.
Girl,
go ahead.
About my nightmares last night. I almost punched a bitch in my sleep.
These Tumblr bitches are going to give us a heart attack.
More like the other way around, but just.
I love it.
I got some fire to spit, so I have to lubricate the lips.
Do it. I dare you.
I love it.
Oh
First off, what is up with this Nesta bullshit? Like, how about this glorious goddess is so protective of her younger sisters? Like, not only Elaine, but she was also protective of Feyre. It's just like the canon narrator. Y'all are fucking blind to this shit.
People can't fucking see past Feyre's narration in the first book about Nesta. Like, at that time, they didn't get along. That's why she's angry at Nesta.
Here's the thing, like, even in book 1, they made up. And then when Feyre became Fae again, she was on her bullshit again and had loose lips about, oh, my sister Nessa is such a bitch. Like, bitch, I thought y'all two made up.
They did. She taught her how to use the bow. She taught her how to paint. They were like talking about the ball. They threw Feyre a ball when she came home. Elaine and Nesta and Papa A threw her a fucking ball in her honor for coming home to them.
Well, given Feyre's track record, she is already an ungrateful bitch. So, are we surprised?
Yeah, and then she's like, "It's so tedious." Nah. Like, what? You've been poor since you were what, 8? And you don't want a dance? What, are you just jealous that Nesta knows how to fucking dance and didn't teach you? Like, you're stepping on everyone's toes, bitch.
Also, again with Feyre's hypocrisy. Oh, I don't like going to balls. Really? You like on someone else's balls during Under the Mountain and Court of Nightmares, which was also a ball.
Well, see, I noticed that in order for Feyre not to look bad, because clearly she doesn't know how to dance, she was pregnant at the time of the ball in Hewn City. So she was just sitting there on her queen bullshit, and she didn't even have to embarrass herself.
The only reason why that girl had dance moves is because somebody was fingering the shit out of her and she had no control over her body. Then, when she was pregnant, you get the waddle and you can do a lot with that waddle, and girl just had no fucking rhythm.
The only time homegirl knew how to dance was when Reese made her dance like the puppet that she fucking was under the mountain. Ugh, I got your string, dance bitch. What? She was dead.
Okay, here's the thing about Feyre throwing up because she was essayed by Reese, who basically roofied her and made her dance. I would have thrown up if someone made me dance and if I had no idea if I actually danced well. Rattle my sister, that would have been immediate embarrassment, and that would have been the reason why I threw up.
Oh my god.
I literally love that point so much. Because I would feel the same way, like, well, did I do a good job? Did I dance well?
Well, she did ask Lucian. And Lucian was like, it was not the kind of dancing you did with Tamlin. Let me tell you that right now. He's like, I saw way too much of you for my fucking lifetime.
I would have been like, Lucian, you don't know what kind of dance me and Tamlin did. Don't act like you know.
we the horizontal tango, Lucian.
Well, we did.
Oh my god. The way that Feyre only knows how to dance when she's drunk. But what do we think about Elaine? Because Elaine talked about Nesta's dance skills, even in ACOWAR, how she was like, she seduced the Duke with her dance skills and he wanted to marry her when she was like fucking, I don't know, 14.
A child.
Yeah.
I know.
And I think it was fucking funny because even when she was 14, Nesta is driven by pure pettiness. And I love that about her because the bitch that wanted that Duke was fucking bullying Elaine. Again, protecting Elaine. Yeah. She's like, I'm gonna get this fucking bitch's Duke to fall in love with me just so I can reject him so that bitch don't get him either.
I love that about Nesta. It's like one of my favorite scenes is when they were describing that. And like she went and got those like that outfit and the pearls and everything just to catch his attention. I was like, I love Nesta. Go girl.
No, it's like she was mean to me. So Nesta got it in her head that she was gonna steal him away from her and then reject him.
That's a boss move. Like
such a girl boss move.
And then Feyre thinks like, oh, well, I did a boss move by tearing down an entire spring fort. Girl, that's politics. This is a different kind of politics. This is like petty. What you was like, you're a war criminal. That's different. Also, to a grown ass adult doing that, Nesta was 14. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And whereas Nesta had a reason to hurt that girl, right? Because she was bullying her sister. Yeah. That girl did something first. Feyre did this all on her own.
That's the thing. Like, people don't understand. Nesta never does anything unless given a reason to do said thing. Mm-hmm. Like, every single time. And as I was saying when Olivia first popped on, I was going through my old highlights on Instagram, and one of my first highlights was the grandmama thing. And like Nesta was physically abused, unlike Elaine and Feyre. And she had to have been taking it for all of them.
Yeah. Also sexually abused by Thomas Mandrake.
The Kelpie, Cassian. Like, it's weird. It's weird. I don't like it. But like that Feyre admits Feyre's the one that says, oh, Nesta carries scars literally on her hands from when the grandmother would beat her for misstepping in dance lessons. This is why I'm like, they're fucking half fae. Like and witch. Because like no normal human would be like, I'm gonna beat you for misstepping in dance lessons. Like a witch would be like, you're not good enough, smack. Like, hello, matron Blackbeak. Like, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, so why wasn't Elaine and Feyre in dance lessons? Like, they're only 1, 2, 3 years apart, right?
Yeah.
No.
Nesta had to have been like, oh, I'll do it, and I'll blah, 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 blah. Like, she was literally protecting them, and no one will admit it.
And Nesta and Elaine are like Irish twins. They're like only a year apart.
They are. Yeah. They were 19, 21, and 22 at the start of ACOWAR.
Yeah, they're only a year apart.
Why do they act like she's like so much younger though?
Who?
I don't know. No, Feyre. Everyone's like the way that I feel like when I was reading it, they were like, she was so young, she couldn't learn it. It was
because
like 1 year.
Because it was Feyre's POV, and all they saw was, oh, Feyre was only 8, and they made her learn how to hunt. And I'm like, okay, but if Feyre was 8, that means Elaine was 10, and Nesta was 11.
Also, Feyre did not learn how to hunt until officially she was 14.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she says the riches lasted a good chunk of years, and then when it ran out, I taught myself how to hunt. By that time, I was 14.
Oh.
14, 16, and 17 are all children.
Yeah.
They're all children.
And besides, what if Elaine and Nesta did end up getting married? Would the fandom still blame them for doing what was expected of them at the time in their culture?
Oh, that was another thing that I posted on Threads with that girl today, because she was like, Nesta admitted that like she was so angry at them that she would have like literally let them get killed and starve, like just because she was angry at the dad. She didn't give a crap if they all died. I was like, first of all, Feyre herself, shockingly enough, says like even at 17, if Nesta had to whore herself out when everything ran out, she was prepared to do that.
Yeah.
Like Feyre says that.
Yeah.
And then Nesta says that later on. She's like, I was so angry, blah, 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 blah. Like I knew that Feyre could always like find a way to like, I don't know, find more meat or whatever. But she's like, if it came down to it and we couldn't, yeah, I would have whored myself out. Like if that was the only choice we had.
She was made to be an adult way too young in her life. Like both girls. And like we don't even know about Elaine. I still suspect that Elaine was supposed to be the mother figure that none of them had. Because their mom
100%.
And Elaine had a soft heart, and it could be because, well, I don't want to be like my mother.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And she ended up being the nurturing one.
I see. The thing is too, when people are like, Elaine was way too codependent on Nesta, and Nesta only shielded Elaine, and blah, 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 blah. I think that the thing with Nesta and Elaine, which I love how you brought up the Irish twin thing, because this is a thing.
Yeah.
Like I see it with my brother and my sister. Like Mikey and Shaylee are Irish twins. They're only like 14 months apart. And so like they're really close. They're like they're literally a grade apart. So, you know, they're kind of in the same like friend group and stuff like that. And I think that the takeaway with Nesta and Elaine is that Nesta, like I said, physically protected Elaine from the grandmother and all of that awfulness and, you know, like Matron Blackbeak, which if Manon had a Nesta, an older sister, she wouldn't have been how she was at the beginning of the Tog series. She would have been more soft-hearted from the start, I think, because she would have had her sister.
She had Aspirin, which was, they were cousins, but they acted like sisters.
But Manon was the older one, is my point.
Yes.
If Manon, like if Manon had her older sister, was her sister older than her? Do we know?
I can't remember.
I think she was born first, but she was never allowed to know her. But if Manon had her older sister to protect her from the grandmother, she would have been the more soft-hearted one. So Elaine had Nesta to protect her from the awfulness of the grandmother. And I honestly think that Elaine was the one protecting Nesta's kind of emotional sanity, because I think Nesta without Elaine would have been more like Manon. Like
they were coding on each other because that's all they had.
Yeah.
They were all each other's mother in a different sense.
Yeah.
Marry each other because I wasn't good to do it.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, like everyone's like, yeah, she's so independent, she didn't do anything. So like Elaine did protect Nesta. Like Elaine basically stepped in and was like the mother figure that Nesta needed, because Nesta protected her from the awfulness. And I do
again, Elaine also was that mother figure for Feyre, because without Elaine, Feyre would have never known how to paint.
Oh yeah.
She bought her paints on her 17th birthday.
Yeah. Elaine stepped into that role of like, okay, I am going to be the nurturer of both of you, because even though their abuse was different, it was still abuse. So like Nesta physically protected them, Elaine emotionally protected them, and then Feyre, you know, provided for them. So they all had their own slice of the pie to contribute.
But here's the thing that I just realized. So Nesta was physically abused, right? And she physically protected them. Elaine, I suspect, was emotionally abused, and so she emotionally protected them. Feyre was just neglected altogether, and she provided for them.
Yeah, exactly.
So their roles were based off of the trauma, and they gave back what they lacked. Yeah. And
and well, we get that too, because is it Nesta or Feyre? I think it might have been Nesta. Yeah, it was Nesta and ACOWAR. So she's basically going through like her trauma with her mother and how she visits her grave, and she says that Elaine was her mother's doll to dress up and to push on males, and like they both were, but Elaine was more of the mother's like pet project, whereas Nesta was like, you're my queen, you need to go do this, you need to do that, and Elaine was more like, oh, I can brush your hair and make you pretty, and like she was like her toy.
You know, I think Elaine, as of ACOWAR, has been working on her trauma with her mother, because something that always sticks out to me is what she says about Lucien. And mind you, I am pro Lucien. And so when Elaine is like, I don't need to give him my attention, or something to that effect. He doesn't deserve my attention, or I don't need to give him attention.
Yeah. Does that mean
interesting?
Does that mean he's obligated to my time and attention?
Yeah, that. And it's like, she's working through shit with her mom.
100%.
Why do you say that? Wait, explain it to me more.
So Feyre has her shit with her mother, which her mother wasn't really there. You know, she's been and Nesta has her issues with their mother. And so if Elaine is the doll and was basically groomed in a different way than Nesta, Elaine was groomed in a way to where the mother was pushing on males onto her.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
You think it was more of like a insidious, like
she's
grooming,
like rebelling against how she was groomed.
Okay.
Yeah. Because like Nesta was groomed for conquest, remember? She was supposed to like take over territories and like be rich and like, you know, marry up and like be this prominent figure in society. And Elaine was only there for a dowry. Like Elaine was only there to make the mother rich. So Nesta was there for her like public image. Elaine was there for riches. And Feyre was like a spare. Feyre was like an afterthought. So yeah, Elaine's definitely rebelling against like, I'm not just a doll. Like, I'm not just for men. I'm not just this, just that. Like, I want to make my own choices. And that's the whole thing, which is why she hates the Bond so much, because I think the Bond reminds her of being the mother's puppet. She went from her mother's puppet to the mother's puppet, and she hates it.
Especially now since she's a seer. And like,
I think she was always a seer, though. I honestly think she was always a seer. I just think it wasn't as obvious, obviously, because now she's Fae and whatever. But again, I think they all had magic when they were human, just on different levels, if that makes sense.
I think it was more, I don't know, I feel like it was more subtle than that, because like Elaine canonically was always the observant one, except when it came to magic for whatever reason. But she was always the observant one. And I think the Cauldron or the mother was like, you know, you're very observant. I'm gonna give you a little bit extra. And let's see what you do with it. Let's have fun with it.
I have a little comment about that. So remember how Elaine says, oh, I was dreaming. I think I'm always dreaming nowadays or whatever, right? I kind of think that Nesta, this also kind of goes with their whole thing, but the Nesta and Elaine thing. So Nesta's abuse was physical. Her reaction was physical to protect or whatever. And now like Nesta's healing arc was physical. She trained and she got hurt and she was kind of still abused and she had to overcome all of that stuff. But Nesta could also physically feel and fight against glamours, remember? Because she did not, she knew Tamlin was trying to glamour them. It didn't work on her, which is also weird. Probably links up to the Tog World thing. And Elaine, I think her visions most of the time were either in her dreams or like daydreams, like when she was zoning out and just thinking of things. Because it brings me back to when you mentioned how she is the one who bought Feyre the paint on her 17th birthday. Why did she buy her paint randomly? I want to know. Did she have a vision of
did she already know that Feyre liked painting?
Painting, no. Sketching, yes. She was always sketching in their father's study.
Not painting. So did she see in her dreams the dresser drawer? Well, which obviously led to all of this, whatever.
Here's the thing. So, Olivia, you're far enough in the Tog world to know that there's a big thing with opium, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So, all opium comes from the poppy flower, right? And nobody knows. Well, I think Feyre mentions the kind of flowers that Elaine plants. But hear me out. This is a correct theory. What if the reason why Elaine is so sublime is not because she's as strong as Feyre believes, but because Homegirl is doing a Caltaine and is using opium to get rid of the headaches of the dreams, the visions.
Yeah, I mean, she could have just been kind of out of it the whole time in poverty.
You know?
I never thought of that like that.
Feyre had sex to escape. Nesta had anger to escape. Elaine probably had drugs. And that's not a judgment. You know, we all have our vices, and it's just, you know, it is what it is. And, you know, I kind of wonder, like, would Elaine have planted like poisonous herbs? Would she have planted medicinal herbs and Feyre not have known because she can't fucking read? And e-packets, like,
I need Sarah to deep dive into their time at the hovel and everything Tamlin knew about the mother. But when you were talking about that, I was thinking of you probably
also Elaine misses the hovel. Elaine misses the hovel.
And you know, she was the hope or whatever
and you know
that means.
Poppies, they don't exactly look like a rose, but they kind of resemble a rose.
Yeah.
I love, I would love that character. I feel like you guys are amazing that you put that together because I totally never would have.
So wait. So when you were talking about Rhys seeing Feyre painting the dresser, what if it wasn't actually like, obviously, like canonically, he was supposed to be looking out of Feyre's eyes. What if he was seeing Elaine's dream and not actually looking out of Feyre's eyes? Because the fact that Elaine is a seer and the fact that she's the one that bought her the paints to paint the dresser, I feel like what if Rhys's magic somehow tapped into Elaine's seer magic?
That could be because he did give a little push. And
and Elaine would have seen her painting the dresser, which is, I'm convinced that's why she bought her the paints. Because after that, remember, Feyre's like, oh, I decided after that I had to paint like every surface of the hovel. Like I painted the table, the little flowers on the table, and I painted because everything needed to look brighter and more cheerful because it was so depressing. And that's a very Elaine thing. That's a very Elaine thing. That's not a very Feyre thing to do, especially if Feyre's night court.
Clever. She's very quiet and clever.
So yeah, I feel like Elaine might have influenced Feyre, like kind of without knowing it. And it just goes back to her with the dream thing. Oh, I'm always dreaming. I'm always dreaming. Like she had to have been daydreaming. And I don't know, just the way that, like, again, the way that she bought her the paints, that's a very seer thing to do because that's what started all this shit. That's what started seeing her painting and sending her the night sky, and everything kind of started with Elaine deciding to buy her those paints.
Yeah.
And her painting the dresser.
Do you think that could also be why Elaine has this not quite understanding, because Rhys is still kind of prejudiced against Elaine? Not as much as Nesta, but he's still pretty prejudiced against her.
Yeah, he's like, Elaine is Elaine. I do appreciate her kindness, like in contrast to Nesta, but
there's some type of allyship, and the fact that she is trying so hard, bless her heart, to fit in with the night court because her sisters are there, and she doesn't want to be separated.
That's why she's gonna be the fucking Rhys's best friend thing, which I fucking hate.
I think she's going to take over the Court of Dreams, and she's going to take the Court of Dreams to whatever court she ends up in next. Because at this point, I really don't know. She could be in any court. She could be emissary. She could be High Queen with, no, because Nesta and Cormac, I think, are going to be High Queen and High King.
Yeah.
But wherever Elaine ends up, Nesta has the Valkyries. Yeah. I think Elaine is going to have the Court of Dreams.
I feel like it confuses me because the Court of Dreams is really just Rhys's inner circle, and I do not see them actually.
It's more like
any sort of dreams at all. They don't. I hate that they use that name.
Yeah, because like when you really do a deep dive into the inner circle, they don't care. Number one. Dreams. Number two, if they were really the Court of Dreams, wouldn't they come up with some grand scheme to
help the Illyrians, help the Human City Girls?
Yeah, like it's not. It's a gossip column. They just sit there and gossip and slander and don't get shit done.
Yeah. Can we go back really quick to the Hubble situation? Because the kinship between Elaine and Papa Archeron, which we know, like, she took care of him. Creepy. So I do want to kind of redact a little of what I said about how Elaine did nothing while Nesta did all the cooking, Feyre did all the hunting. She didn't do any manual labor, really, but
she did emotional labor.
But she was also their father's caretaker, because if you think about it, he was physically disabled. He couldn't do anything by himself. So she was his caretaker. Yeah. You know, she kind of, she helped him stand. She would get his cane when Nesta would be like take the cane away.
Or like pick it from out beneath him.
She would be like, oh, like, what are you making today? Like, she would actually talk to him, because I think Elaine is probably like, look, Feyre doesn't really care. Nesta's pissed at you. You're going to just fucking off yourself if somebody doesn't talk to you. Like, I think she actually really cared. But also there was the thing of, which we've also said before, of Papa Abe also being a seer. And I do think he was a bad call, because, or he couldn't really tell them anything, like we've gone over before. But every scene that we see of Feyre noticing Elaine and Papa Archeron together, they're either both like animatedly chatting about whatever they're chatting about, and like when she came back and they were in like the manor because Tamlin had given them the riches or whatever, when she came back and it was like around the time that they were discussing the ball, she was like, oh, my father and Elaine were so excited to throw me a ball, and they were talking about the planning and they were so animated. And then like the next time that she sees them in the hallway, because she was chatting with Nesta, she turned back to them. It's like, oh, they both had that weird glazed look on their face, or like their eyes were kind of glazed, like in thought, like they sometimes were. And so I'm like, is this them both being seers and, I don't know, somehow sharing a vision, and that's why they had so much in common, and that's why she was his favorite, because she understood him in a way the other two didn't, because they had the same magic.
It's also too, I wanted to interject real quick. My crack theory about the opium, it would make sense if Elaine did grow opium like poppies, because opium can be used as a pain reliever.
Mm-hmm.
And if Papa Arch was disabled, it would have helped alleviate some of the aches and pains that usually come with this sort of injury.
Yeah. And I also kind of, if you think about it, I don't really have any proof of this in the series, because as of right now, like, there's really no like drugs. There's like spells, and there's like the fairy wine, and there's all of that. But I guess the only proof would kind of be the fairy wine. Because like even when Tamlin drank it, it kind of made him happier, right? It was kind of like, not really
some of that,
but it kind of made him happier too, you know, not just Pharaoh when she was human. But if you think about it, you would think that like opium or like any drug like it would be more apt to bring out their magical properties, whether they were human or fae. So I'm wondering if because like soft heart, right? Maybe she was like, oh, maybe I'll just take it too, and I'll be a little bit more happier. Like she was the hope, right? So I'm wondering if like her and Papa Archeron were taking it, and it just brought out their seer powers, even when they were human.
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe she was giving some to Nesta too, and Nesta's like, "Fuck your glamours, bitch! I can see that sparkly shit from a mile away."
It's weird to me though that like Nesta could see the glamour and like wasn't affected, but like Elaine was. That's what I can't like wrap my mind around that.
Especially you know when she's the seer. Yeah,
that confuses me. And it's like, how come Elaine got gifted, like was the big thing with the cauldron, when like Nesta's the one that could withstand all the glamours? I don't know. It's weird to me. I don't get it.
So Elaine, I feel like Elaine's mind is more prone to being affected by magic, just because the way that being a seer is described is, again, like, oh, they kind of look really flighty and they zone out, and there's a lot going on up there and shit. So I feel like it. What?
What blinds an oracle?
I know.
Starborn. Remember, we think that Tamlin is Starborn.
Starborn.
Yeah. That too. But then, like the whole Papa Archeron thing, like, wouldn't Papa Archeron see it if he was also a seer?
He would have also been an oracle. They were blinded because he's Starborn.
True.
But he was the first one. When he got that pelt from Feyre.
The fucking pelt.
The minute he saw it, he knew. The minute he saw it,
he knew he was coming.
Papa A, you sneaky little shit.
He knew who it was too.
He knew who he was.
He knew.
Yeah. I told Olivia. I think it was sometime last season. I told Olivia. I said that Tamlin specifically went in his beast form because he knew Papa Archeron, because Papa Archeron was a merchant. He was fucking trading in Prythian. He fucking knew whose hovel that was. And he knew that if he didn't come in beast form and he came in like male form, he'd know who the fuck he was. Papa Archeron fucking knew about the curse, the blight. That's why when he saw the pelt, he was like, oh shit, it's my daughter.
Yeah.
That's why he's like, go and make a name for yourself, because you're the one who's gonna solve their fucking curse.
And don't come back. Didn't he say like, don't come back here?
Don't come back, make a name for yourself. And what the fuck does she do? She comes back. Instead of telling Tamlin, I love you, she comes back.
Wait. So Papa Archeron saw that she was going to come back and is like, no, because if you come back, you'll end up with Rhysand and you belong with Tamlin.
Our little hearts would love that so much.
No, well, also, if she came back and she never went back to Under the Mountain, like, everyone in Prythian would have been stuck under the mountain. So if Papa A was half fae and like he's from Prythian, he would have feelings for Prythian, even though he's part mortal, right? And he'd be like, don't come back, because if he thought she came back to stay, like, nobody would have been liberated. Everybody would have been trapped under that curse forever. And not only that, but even for selfish reasons, if everybody was trapped under the mountain, there ain't no more fae artifacts to be trading. There ain't no more money coming in. He needs that bank, right?
Unless, because he knows his daughter so well, maybe he knew that Feyre is somewhat oppositionally defiant, and if he used reverse psychology on her, it would work.
Yes. There is a deeper story to him.
Yeah. I have another little kind of sort of crack theory thing, but I can't really prove it. But it's kind of based off of the fact that Tamlin knew Papa Archeron and before Mama Archeron, because she was obviously going to fucking Calumet.
She was a party girl, let's face.
But if you remember the way that when Feyre goes back, Elaine, which I find it interesting, she does say like, oh, the man who came with the suitcase with all of the money and but then she goes, then he gave father the salve that healed his leg miraculously or whatever. So I was like, if Tamlin was friends with the mom, knew about Papa A, but like didn't know that Faye came and like destroyed his leg or whatever, and then realized when he picked up Feyre, because remember he scrutinized the father when he was in beast form and he came and he was like, oh fuck, this dude's injured. He went back and he healed Papa Archeron. Was it like he had no motivation to have to do that? He already gave them riches. So like, did he do it for his dead friend? Did he do it for Feyre? Did he do it for both? Because it really seems like
I think it was a way to right a wrong.
Yeah.
Like if Faye came to fuck up his leg, I think he did it to right a wrong. Like when Feyre came back, okay, Feyre was actually starting to grow as a person. She was becoming a better person. And I think she did the same for Tamlin. And I think Tamlin had, like, they changed for the better. And then Rhys had to go fuck it all up. And
he gave her more of his riches and the fucking golden ruby that will always get me. That he gave her the fucking golden ruby.
He was their fucking sugar daddy, and she had the gall to do that to him. Like,
yes.
But do you remember when I said how when I was writing my fic that I was like, there had to have been some sort of female in the Spring Court inner circle when it was like Andros and Lucien and Tamlin, because again, Tamlin and Rhys are foils of each other, right? So if their inner circles were kind of similar. Sans Amren, obviously, because she's a whole different story. It would have been Rhys, Cassian, Azriel, and more, right? So it would have been Tamlin, Lucien, Andros, and a female. I'm wondering if that female was Mama Archeron.
Oh hell yeah, she was a party girl.
That was
cool. She their friend? Was she part of their little spring circle? And
their cadre?
Yeah. Was she the human in their circle? Is this why Tamlin was so protective of the humans? Which maybe he knew she was half witch, maybe he didn't. But I feel like it might have also started with Mama Archeron. And that's why, like, somehow, some way, he knew when he saw Feyre, like, that was her mother. Because remember when they're like, she has her and Nesta have the same eyes as their mom. Same exact eyes.
Wait a minute.
Don't say what I think you're going to say.
Yeah, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. When Tamlin was like, oh yeah, I fucked just about any kind of woman you can think of.
He was not with her mom.
I'm not saying he's her father. I'm just saying he may have pulled a Morgan and someone's parent. You know them blondes. You know those Prythian blondes.
Oh my god.
Did you see that theory? This theory just pisses me off every time I see it.
Oh no.
That Elaine is Tamlin's daughter. Yeah. I was on Tumblr and I saw on Tumblr and they're like, Elaine's Tamlin's. It makes so much sense. That's why he knew the mother. That's why she looks different than the other two sisters.
No, I still in the back of my mind think that Elaine was the baby of one of the sentries that was killed. And I think that Mama A being Tamlin's friend was, I don't know, I feel like maybe Papa A was out on his merchant business and not there. And I feel like Mama A probably gave birth to like a stillborn or had some sort of miscarriage. And because she was so all about her public image and all about that, like if you think of kind of like the time that Prythian is set in or like the Mortal Lands are set in, it wouldn't look good for a woman to like have a stillborn, have a miscarriage, like, oh my God, right? So I feel like if she miscarried or if she had a stillborn and there was this abandoned child that needed a home, this kind of lends to my Elaine is a changeling theory, where Tamlin simply shapeshifted Elaine into a human child, looking like a human child. And she made Elaine look like her husband since Nesta already looked like her. And I feel like she asked Tamlin to shapeshift this kid. She's like, I will take this kid that doesn't have a family and I'll pass her off as my own and my husband's because I'm not going to admit that I lost a child. Like, that is something she would have done.
Here's the thing, though. If that's the case, Elaine would have still been Fae. And for Feyre to do the thing that sets the course to eventually break the curse, she would probably have to go after Elaine.
Why?
Because if Elaine was a changeling, she would have been Fae. Even if she was disguised as a human, she would have still been Fae. And also, Nesta can see through bullshit.
Yeah.
She can see through glamour. So Nesta would have been able to see what Elaine was.
But a glamour isn't a shapeshift. It's two different magics. Because remember, people were like, oh, he couldn't have glamored the heads or he couldn't have glamored the wings. Like, he didn't. He shapeshifted them. They're two different things. Because Rhys can sense glamours, but he didn't really pay attention. But I feel like shapeshifts are totally different.
I don't know.
But also, part of Amarantha's curse is that Tamlin had to send his men to be killed. Never said females. So it wouldn't have been Elaine anyway. It had to have been one of his men. Because I feel like, I don't know whether it was just pure luck that Elaine had the same type of magic as Papa Archeron. I don't know.
But that's good, yeah. Don't you think, though, if she was a changeling, I don't know, it's just weird to me because she looks and acts like Papa Archeron. So
but that's the point. She's supposed to, because Nesta and Feyre both looked / act like Mama Archeron.
Like the mom. That's true. That's true.
Feyre makes a point all the time to be like, oh, Elaine's brown eyes. Oh, my father's eyes. Our father's eyes. Our father's heart. Our father's da 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 da. Like, and her and Nesta attached to the mom all the time.
Yeah.
And this would have been before Feyre was born, remember, obviously, because Elaine's older than her. So Mama Archeron's line of logic was probably like, okay, my first child looks like me. Our second child would probably look like him, right? And if Mama Archeron was half witch, and we know that witches also use artifacts to enhance their magic, which would probably include spells. Who's to say that she didn't just, like, I don't know, spell Elaine to be a seer like her father, just to make her more like the dad?
What if the rose is the artifact?
Oh, could be.
The wooden rose.
Yeah.
Because it was weird, like, Nesta kept saying she felt compelled, right, to take the little wooden things off. Didn't you find that wording kind of bizarre? How she was like, there's so that compelled her to take it.
And then she didn't take it.
I know. Like,
or no, she didn't take it. She put it on his grave.
In silver flames. Yeah, right?
On his
grave. Why
would
you want to put that on the grave when it's going to get all wet and expand? And
Yep.
Well, my other theory with the rose thing was that Koshi hid part of his soul in it. Because remember, in the myth, he hides 3 pieces and 3 objects.
That's fine.
3 random objects. And it doesn't matter if it's like, it doesn't have to just be on one continent. So it could have been Mortal Lands, Prythian, continent. 3 pieces. Because I feel like maybe...
Koshi?
Because I feel like maybe the Mortal Lands piece was the rose. The Prythian piece is somehow inside of Elaine from that weird bargain or whatever magic that she creepily possesses. And the other object has to be that black box that she saw. Where is the black box? Is it on the actual continent? Like at the lake, under the lake? 3 pieces of land.
Wait. It's the same black box from Crescent City, right? Crescent City had a black box in it that the astronomer had.
He had the sprite, he had Ariadne in the box.
I know, but there's something else in the box. Like they were saying there's something else in the box, Ariadne and the sprites. And Ariadne like had them be like really quiet and like didn't let the sprites talk about it anymore, right?
I don't know.
I kind of feel like, okay, wait, how crazy would it be? Also, on this note, if Koshi spread out the 3 different artifacts in the 3 different worlds. So there's like one in Tog, one in Prythian, and one in Crescent City.
Oh.
I mean, there's also the 3 word keys. So there was the 3 word keys. So what if each Valg King had 3 word keys?
What if Feyre's ring has Koshi's soul and not the mother?
Oh.
I don't think Koshi was brought up till ACOWAR though. And the ring thing was in ACOMAF. Right?
But
if they don't know.
Yeah, if you don't know what's in the ring. Because also the ring was in the Weaver's cottage. And the Weaver is Koshi's sister.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just trying to go down
unless Koshi is a stand-in, kind of like Maeve was, and made the other 2 queens believe that they were siblings, and Koshi is not their sibling.
Oh, that's what I totally think. I don't think he's their sibling at all. I think
I
think he's a Valg King. I don't think he's their sibling.
I still get like so confused on it.
Okay, hear me out. What if Rhys's mother was kind of like you said, one of Koshi's females, but maybe not by choice, similarly to Elaine. And maybe that's why the mom bound her soul to the ring in case Koshi killed her or she died there or something. Because it's weird that she could walk in, have a conversation with the Weaver about the ring to be able to have, like, first of all of the artifacts at the Weavers were given to her. How are they given to her? Because she kind of just attacks people, right? To eat the life out of them. I feel like all of the artifacts that the Weaver has are artifacts of witches.
I love that theory.
I think that the death gods are actually just very corrupt necromancers. Because I was thinking about this earlier, because Hypaxia says something, I think it's to Ethan, and I forget what the actual quote is, but she says something about how very, very delicate it is to try to connect with the dead, and especially like when you do it too often. And so like if they're called death gods, you kind of have to wonder like, what did they do to be able to be called death gods? And then to
and is Nesta one now?
And then to kind of eat life forces, because both the Weaver and the Bone Carver kind of ate life forces in different ways. Because the Weaver, you know, actually ate life and ate beauty, like of the whole body. She would attack people and like eat their essence, basically like Ianthe. And then the Bone Carver ate it based on sin and, I don't know, maybe remaining energy that were in their bones or something like this, because he is the sin eater from Tog. People would go confess their sins to him. And that's the energy, that's the life that he would get.
Oh my God, he is.
So I think that they were originally necromancers, which is a type of witch, a subset of witch, and they became too corrupt that they needed to sustain themselves on death, which if you think about it, death is kind of a foil of life, because if you eat life, the people die, right? So they would be called death gods, just like Nesta. All of her magic, even though she's called Lady Death, which I was going over the other day, even though she's called Lady Death, her magic brings things back to life. So,
well, death,
not actual life, but like it reanimates things with energy, with magic, which is kind of like what a necromancer does. They can bring like the dead soul or the dead person to the forefront to be able to communicate with them. And in Hypaxia's case, I'm really actually scared for her, because now she's like the Underqueen, which would kind of make her a death god, right? She's the Underqueen with all the souls. And she says, and I'll never let this quote go because it is stuck in my head so much, because we didn't have her full arc in Hofast, but she literally says in Hofast to Ethan, like, he asks, oh, did you take the antidote? She's like, no, I'm actually kind of afraid of what it would do to me. I can already call upon the dead, and I'm already Underqueen. She hasn't taken the fucking antidote yet, so she doesn't know the expanse of her death magic yet. I think she's gonna be a new death god.
I am so excited now for her plotline that you brought that up. So I forget how cool, but she's very powerful.
Yeah, she already was. Like Nesta.
Yeah. She's scared. She's a healer too, which I find really interesting.
Kind of like Irene.
Kind of like Irene.
Okay, that was another thing. Irene is a healer, but her healing magic kills Valve. Life and death.
Oh, I just realized something.
What?
Feyre has a little. No, listen. Feyre has a little bit of that healing magic, right?
Yeah.
If Rhys is Valg, and they make Nyx is going to be part Valg. So even if Feyre could use that healing magic on herself, it could still kill the baby. Because if healing kills Valg.
So it depends on what she knows, right? Because we know that Rhys didn't tell her a lot.
Yeah.
But she knows that if she was shapeshifted into an Illyrian, she didn't have any of the high fae magic, because she would have just been Illyrian.
She could have altered her bone structure.
I know, but
they could have allowed that, but no plot.
But I'm saying like Nyx is technically 75% Illyrian, so he really wouldn't have any Valg.
Okay.
Because if she completely shapeshifts into an Illyrian, you would think that the only magic she would have would be of an Illyrian, which is just their killing power and the ability to shapeshift back. So she would technically, I'm assuming, when they shapeshift into a completely different being, because Rhys says down to the DNA, she would lose her high fae magic because she's no longer high fae. So Nyx isn't, because we were saying Nyx isn't the heir, because it says it doesn't have to be the firstborn. It's just the most powerful. So Nyx isn't going to be the heir because he's not going to have any of the High Lord's high magic from Feyre, because she wasn't high fae when he was conceived. She didn't have any of their magic when she was conceived. So he's only going to have whatever scrap he gets from Rhys.
Rhys is half high fae.
But is he? Because he wasn't born Illyrian.
But here's the thing. Oh shit, I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to say something and then I forgot.
Where the fuck is
now I know what it was. I found it. I picked it back up again. Okay, so when Nyx is a teenager, he's gonna be a handful, and I'm so excited for Rhys's blood pressure.
Oh my gosh. I told you, I want him to just completely, I want him to be like Az, and I want him to completely renounce his Illyrian heritage and be like, I'm not being a warrior, I don't want to be a soldier, I don't want to do the blood right, I just want to be a fucking scholar. Leave me in peace with my books.
He totally Nyx is totally gonna be the best.
I want him to be the nerdy scholar.
Totally. He's also going to be like compassionate. I feel like he's going to be like the soft compassion.
He's going to want to know everything.
Not like that.
He's going to want to know everything about every court, and I want him to go to Spring and fall in love with Tamlin's daughter.
I do
like, oh my God, feel the mate bond.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I want that storyline so bad. They're like Romeo and Juliet. It's like the sweetest thing.
It literally is because just the fucking parallel, the Romeo and Juliet parallel with Tamlin and Rhys's sister, history repeating itself with Nyx and Tamlin's daughter. Tamlin would be like, okay, I understand. And then Rhys would be like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
like his daddy.
I want that so bad. Yeah.
So badly.
If she doesn't write that.
I'm trying to look up this goddamn black box that you put in my head.
Yeah, it's interesting. The astronomer talks about it, and Ariadne does too. I'm trying to. I would have to search for it. It's in the second book.
I feel like the astronomer was. I wanted him to be Koshi so bad. He still could have been Koshi.
I swear
he still could be Koshi.
Hey, absolutely, because Koshi is like deathless, right? So he's just gonna like reanimate.
And in the myth, in the myth, he can astral project and shit.
Yes. And but she even dropped that clue when I think the sprites were saying they were telling Bryce, don't be fooled by his old man appearance. Yes. That right there is Koshi.
And Koshi looked like an old man in ACOWAR.
They said, don't be fooled.
I hate how it says status deceased because these people are not deceased. Let's not update until we fucking know, bitches.
I'm surprised you and Eka haven't tried to go into the wiki for Cormac and been like,
I have.
I used to do that. I go on Wikipedia.
The astronomer was an ancient sorcerer. Where the fuck? Actually, Koshi's called a sorcerer lord. Did the astronomer work for him?
Would not be surprised. Because what does Koshi have in his people, right? He's got
all
people,
the women, all the females, but he could just have. What if? Okay. Remember how Thanatos said that the Underking's dogs worked for him?
Yeah.
But they were in the Crescent City world, right? Who's to say that to combat that, Koshi didn't have his own person in the Crescent City world? The astronomer was Koshi's fucking link to Crescent City.
Totally. But also, wait, you just dropped a huge bombshell on me because I didn't put the points together. The fact that Thanatos is in Prythian and was talking about how he needed eyes in Crescent City.
I know. Because his brothers were there. Oh.
Prythian has to be hell. It has to be.
I don't know. I feel like all three planets are connected to a hell realm. I don't know if it's specifically. I had a point about that to make, actually, but I'll do that after. But the fact that Thanatos says that, the dead would tell the dogs about what's happening and, what happened to them and how, they're being fed on by the Asteri and all of that stuff. And that's why he was mad that they killed the dogs, because then he couldn't try to help combat the Asteri from where he was with his brothers, because, again, hell is the enemy of the Asteri. They were trying to take down the Asteri. That's why he let the Underking have the dogs, so he could learn from the dead, because he knew, like the other princes, that the Asteri were feeding off of them. But they're morally gray because the Underking was also feeding off of them, and he had to have known that, and he still gave his dogs to him.
Well, it's weird, too, that he's literally in Prythian. That bothers me.
In Hewn City! And you know who knows? Fucking Kier! You know who Kier's allied with? Fucking Eris!
Yeah.
I want to know more about Thanatos' unruly daughter.
Yeah, I'm convinced it's Fury. It's Fury.
Well, I keep going between Fury, Amaranth, Maeve. Someone was bringing up that Maeve could be his unruly daughter, possibly.
I swear to God, it's Fury. I will continue to say it. But the time that Fury was MIA in House of Earth and Blood lines up to ACOWAR, because House of Earth and Blood timeline lines up to ACOWAR, which has been said. I don't know if Estam said it or she talked about the timeline and someone put it together, but I've seen someone meticulously put the timeline together, how the House of Earth and Blood is happening at the same exact time as ACOWAR. And then House of Sky and Breath happens directly after ACOSF, which makes sense because we get in Hofast Nesta saying, oh, I slew Lanthus 7 months ago. And when Bryce lands in Prythian, it's after ACOSF. It's about 7 months after ACOSF. And she does that at the end of Crescent City. So it all actually perfectly adds up in the timeline, which props to SJM, because being a pantser, that is very hard to keep track of. With the thing we were pointing out, how he's supposedly supposed to be 11 when that thing happens. But the time that Fury is MIA perfectly lines up with the time that they were meeting with Eris and Kier in Hewn City. And Kier says, oh, Thanatos needs assistance with his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So Fury, and being a princess of hell, Fury would be able to move between the rifts just like her dad. And I feel like when Danica and, you know, their friends died, she just needed a break from that world and her job, because she was kind of like an assassin too, right? And she's like, I can't be here. I need to process this. Like, I need to kind of tell my dad what's happening, because I feel like she knew that, I don't know, I feel like she knew that that was kind of the start of Bryce becoming who she was supposed to be and taking down the Asteri. And I feel like she went to Prythian to update her father on that.
I just imagine that.
And then it would make Fury Hunt's half-sissy.
Also, too, I want to piggyback off of that and say that, like, if that's the case, if Fury, like, told Thanatos and care, Rhys should have known, and he didn't, and he's freaking out because Kier didn't tell him, because Rhys isn't doing his duties.
I know. The line when Kier says, oh, we always wondered, like, where you were when you weren't up there ruling us from your house where you're supposed to be. Like, that sounded so passive aggressive. Like, I feel like it's gonna come out where, like, obviously Rhys is gonna learn about the whole Selene thing, probably off page between Hophass and the next book, right? I feel like Azriel will probably update him eventually. Yeah, eventually. Maybe. I don't know. I hope not, but maybe. But then, like, it's just gonna come out that Kier's gonna be like, of course I didn't tell you, bitch. You were never up there where you were supposed to be. Like, how the fuck was I supposed to tell you? And every time you came here to hurt me, I was gonna fucking tell you.
Yes, fuck you.
But it totally, but then, the way that Kier always wanted an alliance with Autumn, which I brought up the last time, is an exact mirror to how Morven always wanted the alliance with Einar. Autumn and night. Autumn and dusk. And it's like, Kier knows everything and Eris knows everything. And, you know, Eris gave him that alliance to prevent him from going to Valaris and, like, hurting more. Which, I don't even want to know what that alliance entails, because Eris is literally putting himself in the worst position right now that I'm scared.
Here's my thing, though. Why did Kier want to ally with Autumn?
Because they also know.
Specifically with Eris, like I just keep thinking back to, like, how Mor's family is supposed to rule night, and is Kier trying to plan an uprising against Rhys?
100%. But also, I think he knew. He knew.
And Rhys and Mor is supposed to go against her cousin, and she's trying to protect Rhys by putting them under the bus. And
well, if you think about it, if there was a prophecy, if the prophecy held in both Prythian and Crescent City, and Kier has now seen Nesta a bunch of times, and Nesta has been reaching out to the sentient trove, and Nesta has, you know, kind of showed herself as that potential person from the prophecy. Kier would have been scared enough to push for that alliance now, because Autumn is probably the only other court that knows about it, because, again, Eris with the 3 mountains, how he literally tells Nesta and Cassian, oh, the Illyrians have never looked to see what's under Ramiel. And the only person, quote unquote, the only person who really knew what was under those mountains was Vesperus, were, you know, Selene, was whoever has ever seen that hologram. So, and I feel like it's this huge, I don't know if it's going to be like just a Rhys kind of betrayal thing, because if you think about it, it's like Kier knows, potentially Mor knows, but we don't really know. But Kier knows, Amren knows, Eris knows, Tamlin knows, Rhys's sister definitely fucking saw the hologram and knew, because she would have been the heir. So I feel like a bunch of people around Prythian know the prophecy, and none of them have told Rhys, because
what is the prophecy?
Well, it was that the Thea's heir would basically, I would assume, come back and liberate Dusk. But that's why she said that, you know, her sons had sons who had sons who had sons, because there really wasn't supposed to be any daughters, because it was like the punishment for what Thea did with the Asteri, right?
That's why Mor was so valuable.
And Rhys's sister, because the bloodlines swapped. So Rhys's sister, again, would have been the prophesized female to liberate the Dusk Court, which is the exact fucking thing we see on the mural. She knew something about Ramiel. Like, she knew about Ramiel, because Ramiel was a big part of Selene's story. How the portal is there and the archway is there, and that's where they went through the rift between the worlds. And The fucking mural has Ramiel with the eyes and the teeth between the peaks. It's the hologram story in picture form.
What if Tamlin knows and his dad made him tell at least something, or like he suspected it or something, and that's why he went after the mother and the daughter, the sister, and killed them to stop the prophecy?
Well, I feel like, so my thing with that is that, like, I feel like Tamlin and Rhys's father, and I think this is the only thing that they had that was very alike. I think that Rhys's sister went to Tamlin knowing about their fathers. I think that she was similar to the first Starborn Prince with Einar and how he killed his son because his son refused to bring him to other worlds and conquer other worlds and make other worlds for the Fae. I feel like that's what the sister knew that both her father and Tamlin's father would do to her if they knew. So I think that she told Tamlin the story. And I don't know, I feel like if Tamlin's father knew the entire extent of the story, he wouldn't have killed them. I feel like he would have forced them to open portals to other worlds. Because I feel like, because he was working with Hybern, remember? And Rigelus says that they were looking for their other siblings on the other planets. So they wanted to get back together as this huge, you know, Asteri entity. They're all scattered right now, kind of like the Princes of Hell. So I feel like on Tamlin's side of it, he knew that Hybern and Amarantha wanted to get back to the rest of their kind. Whether he knew that their high faeness were glamours slash shapeshifts or not, I don't know. He was young at the time. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe the sister figured it out. But I do think that if his father knew what they could do together, because again, I think Tamlin was her battery, like Hunt and Bryce, then I think he would have used them to get to the other worlds, or at least help Hybern and Amarantha get to the other worlds. And I feel like Rhys's father, if he knew, would have been like Einar and would have wanted that for himself.
So I actually have a crack theory about the whole Mor, Eris, Kier, Rhys situation. I think because also they're not like close cousins, they're like distant cousins. And Rhys recalls a memory where he and Mor used to play together as kids.
In the library, yeah. The library.
I think they were betrothed, and Kier knows about the prophecy, and I think because they were seeing how powerful Rhys was and what he was going to turn into because of tutelage from his father, and Kier hated his father, I think he may have gone back on the betrothal, the arranged marriage, and set Mor up with Eris instead because they wanted to revolt against Rhys's dad because he sounds like an asshole. And Mor was supposed to be, you know, I feel like she had to obey and do it. And I think Eris knew what was going on and that she didn't know. And that he was also trying to protect her, protect Rhys, and protect the prophecy. And so when he tells Mor, like, there's more, there's so much more going on than you could even know. There's bigger players at stake. And
but that's why I'm confused that's why I'm confused because it was Baron who set up the marriage and not Lady A. And the whole connection is through Lady
Kier.
Kier and Baron set it up.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the whole connection to the redheads and Einar and all of that is through Lady A, not through Baron. So I don't know if Baron forced the information out of Lady A, because again, remember, he bought her as his wife. He wanted her for a reason. So he had to know that she was connected to that, which meant his firstborn would be connected to that. And I don't know, I feel like it was always supposed to be Mor and Eris, just specifically because they're both connected to that prophecy, because Eris would have been through, again, Lady Autumn. It would have got some of that, and Kier / Mor would have been, because again, Duskcourt, they were the original rulers of like night, and they would have, you know. So I feel like, because if you put a Starborn with a Starborn, it's gonna make a stronger Starborn.
So then what does Baron want with the Duskcourt? Because that kind of sounds like that's what he's going after. He wants the Duskcourt.
Oh, he's an Einar. He wants to fucking conquer worlds. Why do you think he's working with Koshi right now? He wants the Spring Court, and that's just a start. I think he wants to take over Prythian and all of this shit. I think that he thinks that if he helps Koshi with whatever his fucking thing is, whether he wants to leave the world or join the Asterior, I think if he thinks if he helps Koshi, his reward will be that he'll get to rule all of Prythian, all of that planet. Because he's all about power. Eris even says, like, oh, he just wants power. He just wants conquest. He just wants to be the ultimate person. He's totally doing it so he can be, like, ruler of the world. Because that's what Einar wanted. Einar wanted to rule an entire world. He wanted Bryce and his first starborn son to open portals and bring him to new worlds that hadn't been populated yet, and he wanted to be the ruler of his own world. He wanted to make a whole new world of just Fae, because in Crescent City they had like the whole hierarchy and everything, but he wanted just a world of just Fae, no other type of species, and he wanted to rule them.
Sounds like Hitler.
Yeah, exactly. He wanted. He told Bryce, like, you're gonna take me to a new world so I can rule. Like, that's what he wanted, and that's exactly what Baron wants.
Those two are so like.
Which again is why Baron wanted Lady A's line. And it's weird because Einar said, like, oh, you're going to take me to the original homeworld of the Fae first so I can, meet my other, like, family. Or, like, didn't he say something about, like, meeting the other half of his kin that was in the original homeworld of the Fae? That's literally Lady A and Eris and her children.
So wait, Prythian is the original homeland of the Fae?
Mm-hmm.
So then...
Their type of Fae, the High Fae. Because the shifters were Tog, remember?
Right, so... Did the shifters also originate in Prythian, or
no, Tog world?
So Tamlin is the last of the shifters in Prythian that we know of.
That's what I'm saying. There was at some point some sort of crossing between Tog and Prythian, or just a couple stragglers that got stuck in Prythian.
I wonder if Fenris.
Oh, you froze.
Oh no.
Fenris?
Better?
Yeah,
Fenris. I wonder about Fenris.
Fenris and Connell. Like, I feel like, again, you have to think that, which it's like a long time, but like 15,000 years is a long time and a lot of generations. So if the Asteri successfully over the last 15,000 years bred the High Fae ears out of the shifters from the Tog world, enough to convince them that they're a totally different species than the Fae. Yeah. I feel like, the shifter part of Fenris and Connell would have been bred out of their lines too, unless they were actively down each generation breeding with another shifter. Because that's why I think that Reese's original line was Maven Connell. He wouldn't be a wolf shifter because it's been 15,000 years, and honestly, the Valg would be stronger anyway. But with Fenris, it's like he never had any romantic prospects, which was really sad.
No, but like.
So I feel like
you don't have to have any romantic prospects to have a threesome.
No,
you just have to have all the parts and some
no, but I'm saying like as part of his story, like if he had found his mate, like even at the very end of Kingdom of Ash or something of that sort, because I do feel like Danica was definitely part of Fenris's line, because she gives off Fenris.
She gives off Fenris and Aelin.
Yeah, I don't know if I see Aelin, because Aelin was more Lydia. I feel like Danica is kind of giving me Lysandra.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, hello, the plotting and the going behind people's backs and knowing shit that others
was also
don't.
Aelin. That was also Aelin.
Yeah. I don't know. I read Danica and I don't know. I was like, oh, she's so Lysandra coded. I don't know.
I thought of Aelin.
Because also the snow leopard thing, because the snow leopards are what? They're like pure white, right? Danica's wolf was pure white. And her hair was so platinum that she could put colors in it.
They're not pure white. They still have a pattern. They're like white, and they have some gray, they have some spots.
But again, down 15,000 years. I guess it depends on who you're breeding with, but
Fenris was also
exactly. Also Fenris Fendir, come on.
Yeah.
Right? And like Alpha Wolf. Yeah.
Do we think that Lysandra and Aedion ended up not together because Lysandra is a bitch and ended up with Fenris instead, and Fenris is just like, okay, cool.
Or if we're being a little Twilighty here, if one of Lysandra and Aedion's children ended up with Fenris. I mean, as long as he wasn't around the child as a child. I mean, Tamlin and Feyre were cute. Tamlin knew Feyre's mom. Just saying. As long as Fenris wasn't helping babysit and diaper the kid, and he didn't see the kid growing up, they all kind of stop aging, so.
I feel like Lorcan and Elide would have very diluted Fae witch babies.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
because
they could have been Mama A's line. Maybe.
Because the witches usually, unless they're Croaken royalty, but Elide was Blackbeak. And they always give birth to females. So Elide was and is a witchling.
Technically,
she was a witchling.
Technically.
Well, no, like not even technically. She is a witchling because there's no male witches to.
But like she isn't. But she didn't have. But she didn't have like the magic or like the iron teeth or the iron nails. Like for all intents and purposes, she was basically human and powerless.
From what I remember, the iron teeth and the iron nails, those are implanted. They're not born with them.
I don't know if I got to that part.
Yeah, they're implanted because the iron keeps them. The iron and the pain keeps them grounded to the earth.
Ew.
Yeah.
Do they have any magic though? Like I thought they had magic too.
Other than the yielding, no. That's why I feel like the yielding drop.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So
see, that bothers me though, because I feel like out of 13 people, at least one of them would have survived the drop. Like I feel like Astron should have fucking survived, but that's just me.
I kind of wanted the demon twins to survive. Mm-hmm. I like them.
They also have clear eyelids for flying. They can literally fly with their eyes closed. Creepy.
Yeah, they have a third eyelid.
Ew.
And I think taller than some of the humans. They're taller than humans. They're like naturally taller and willowy.
Oh, they had the witch mirrors too. Witches are able to build magical objects such as the witch mirrors. I still think that Hewn City is like a witch tower. Because they describe like the windows and how weird it is and how they only have a certain amount of light.
Well, think about the Ouroboros. It's a witch mirror.
It has to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, capable of seeing the past, present, future, communicating, traveling, mirrors that hold or amplify raw power.
Amplify raw power, like truth magic. Mm-hmm. Seeing who you actually really are.
Seeing the past, present, future. Communicating, traveling, past, present, future.
Sounds like the bone carver, doesn't it?
Yeah, but also I'm thinking like, oh, the Ouroboros will show you your true inner self. It's just confusing that like Fair is a fucking beast like Tamlin.
Which is interesting because wouldn't that also imply that she is also someone with raw magic?
And also the way that wolf is used to describe both her and Nessa, it's kind of weird.
Well, here's the thing too. Like she had already decided that she was a wolf. Nesta already decided that she was a witch, but Feyre specifically already decided she was a wolf. And then the Weaver, without any knowledge, without any reasoning, calls her a little wolf. After like the last time she talked to her, she was trying to eat her, and then now all of a sudden she's all nicey and calling her a little wolf and like, "What did you break for me, little wolf? I brought you dinner."
Witch. That's what I'm saying. There, she has all witches' possessions because witches could talk to witches. I swear to God, Reese's fucking mom was a witch. Okay, another thing. What if we had it? What if we had it backwards? So what if Papa A was half Croaken witch because they do have rare male witches? Remember we were saying
only through the royal line.
Yeah, but what if he's part of the royal line? Ooh. And what if Mama A was the half Fae, which would make sense if she was the one in the Spring Court gallivanting and doing all this, because I forgot about the whole Blue Blood thing. It says the Blue Blood clan claim they have power. Baba Yellowlegs was known to be a gifted fortune teller and oracle.
Yes, she was.
So if Papa A and Elaine were both oracles, if Papa A was an oracle, that would mean that he would have to be part Blue Blood. So what if he was a witch and Mama A was the Fae?
Also, I have to interject with this because I love it. I think you already got to the point where Baba the Yellowlegs is right.
Oh yeah, long ago.
Okay, so what blinds an oracle? Starborn. Aelin is Starborn, obviously, because
I cannot believe people are fighting that.
It's so fucking obvious.
The fire, the light, the fire, and the shadows are fucking Starborn magic, bitches. Starfire, Mala.
Starfire. A starfire because she got her sunfire from the sun. And what is the sun? A fucking star.
Star.
She's starborn. She's Fireheart. Like
piece in my head. Now it's on the wall.
She's starborn. She managed to kill that particular oracle because what blinds an oracle? A starborn. People.
Lydia was gonna do the fucking yielding. I'm telling you.
No, also too, like,
it makes me mad. It actually makes me mad. I mean, it does go with the whole lore that Rigelus says about how the descendants in the Tog world forgot and got tricked by Rigelus so they could take their people to Midgard and blah, blah, blah. But it makes me mad that Lydia's piece of shit father was the one that was part of Aelin's line, and like her mom was the one that was part of the witch line. But I also find it hilarious that, like, if we're thinking that
maybe her father inherited Rowan's qualities. Because we know he had his moments.
No, but he was supposedly like so bad that she had to fake his death by crushing him with a vehicle. She literally paid people to have him get into an accident, and like literally he got like crushed and burned to death in a car accident that she set up. And I thought that was hilarious. And also the fact that her power is fire, I thought that was funny. But she literally gets the starborn sunfire, the godly sunfire from Aelin, and the fucking witch blood from whatever clan from Tog, whatever. I like to think that she's a mix of Manon and Aelin's line just because that would be really cool and they were friends. But she was fully prepared to do the yielding. She knew about it, even though she wasn't raised with her mom. She somehow knew about it. But that also means that because they have the same mother, and Lydia looks exactly like her mother, but that also means HYPAXIA is of the same line, because HYPAXIA was the witch, the more potent witch, who didn't have any of her father's magic, so she was raised with, I think, the mother.
No, she was raised by the mom.
HYPAXIA, yeah, okay. Yeah, she was raised with the mom, because they had different dads. I forget who HYPAXIA's father was. It said, I just knew about, like, I should know because I love HYPAXIA. Oh yeah. No, she was raised with her father. Because even though her mother was a witch, her father was a necromancer. And then they realized that HYPAXIA was a necromancer. And so the whole thing there was that they had to be raised by the parents that their magic called to. So Lydia was more, deer shifter. So she was given to her father, and then HYPAXIA was necromancy. So she was given to her father, even though she still has a relationship with her mother, unlike Lydia did, which was really sad. But yeah, father, unnamed necromancer. And it's really funny. I don't know. It all leads back to the Tog world, because like, if Dorian and Manon had a bunch of babies, right? We know that Chaol and Yrene had a bunch of babies, and we know that Aelin and Rowan had a bunch of babies. So I feel like Lydia was like, again, the Minorian and Rowan kind of descendants down the line. And I feel like HYPAXIA was the Minorian and Chaol and Yrene, perhaps, descendants down the line. I don't really have any proof for that other than the fact that she looks exactly like Yrene. Exactly like Yrene. Even though her mom looks like Lydia and has like the blonde hair and the gold eyes and whatever, but she's just like, and again, HYPAXIA, the witch queen. Literally the witch queen. Manon was also Krogan, right? So that makes sense. So she looks more like a Krogan than an Iron Teeth, but she's 26. I love her so much. She's also everyone is going on and on and on and on and on about how they want Nesta to meet Manon, and like, they want her to like use the harp to go back in time and like meet all the Tog people. But I want Nesta to fucking meet HYPAXIA. Like, I want HYPAXIA to be a part of their group. And I want HYPAXIA to be the one to fucking humble Mor so badly. Like, that is my crack ship. I want HYPAXIA with Mor. So bad. So bad. She's the only person I can see who could ever humble Mor. Like, I don't see Emery doing that. Emery's too nice. Like, yeah, she's fierce, she's awesome, she's strong, whatever. But again, Mor is a bitch, and I feel like Emery doesn't need that shit. HYPAXIA's already been through it with Celestina. She ain't gonna take more shit for 2 seconds. 2 seconds. She would be done. Oof. I want more Paxia.
More. God, what would their couple name be?
More Paxia. More Pax.
More Pax.
Pax more. Hi, Morgan.
I don't like. We already have a drunk Morgan. We don't need a high Morgan.
I know. But
God.
for real. And also, I love how Rune was like former betrothed, and now it's like brother-in-law. Oh my God. She was supposed to marry Rune, and then like Lydia was Rune's mate. That sucks. I was kind of upset about the Lydia and Hypaxia thing. I want them to be better sisters in the next Crescent City book.
Do you think in the next Crescent City book that Bryce will bring up the thing with Nesta and Az and Reese and
I don't know.
or
I
that
mean, it
Ember
felt
will
like
bring up Nesta?
the last chapter of Hopefast really felt like an actual ending to that for Bryce. I don't think she's gonna bring up anything like that. I think their sole focus in the background, because again, like her and Hunt really only had the first trilogy, but like in the background, I feel like her and Hunt are just gonna be working with Baxian to, solve the first light crisis and all the political stuff, which is kind of eh. But then there's gonna be like Ethan and Perry and Tharion and Sathia, which I love them so bad. But also I feel really sad for Sathia and Colin because I just know that Colin is gonna die, and
do you think that Cormac is gonna pop his cute little head into CC4 and talk to Bryce and be like, "Oh, guess what?
I'm alive. I'm dead.
I'm alive. I'm going to Prythian," and Bryce is like, "Oh, good. I know someone who you need to meet. Go find her."
I honestly, for some reason, I feel like Cormac would be okay. With everyone thinking he's dead. I feel like he was kind of going through like an identity crisis.
Okay, I need you to like repeat what you said because you froze and it was so important and I was so willing to hear and the internet was just
What was the last thing you heard?
I don't remember. It was like I feel like if Cormac and then
Oh yeah. I said I feel like Cormac was going through an identity crisis like when he died. Especially like obviously believing that Morven's his father and we know nothing about his mother and like how he made up with Rune and how he was like, I wish we could have been like actual cousins, and like he was sad and lamenting about everything. But I feel like he is going to be kind of okay with being presumed dead in the Crescent City world. I feel like he's gonna be okay with kind of putting that identity aside and remaking himself, so to speak, in Prythian as his own person.
Do you think he'll send like a message, like a very subtle but knowing message to Bryce and Rune saying like, I'm okay. I'm not dead. I'm okay.
I don't know. There's a part of me that does fully believe that the portals are never going to be open between those two worlds again, just because like Bryce obviously didn't want it. But there's also a part of me that says, she did give Nesta the blades and we do have the Koshi War. And depending on who Koshi actually is, if he is a Val King, or a giant Asteri Lord, she might need their help. There's also a part of me that says Cormac would rather tell Rune instead of Bryce. I don't know.
What about if they go to HYPAXIA and be like, so where is Cormac? And HYPAXIA does her magic and she's like, he's not on this plane. Oh, you mean like he's dead? No, like his soul is like nowhere. Like it's not here.
It's like nowhere.
He just disappeared. And Bryce is just like,
I'm so convinced. Dude, I'm so convinced that's what's gonna happen, and that's what's gonna let them be like, oh, okay, so maybe blah 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 blah. Because remember how we were saying, like, if he is dead, giant asterisk under if he is dead, then Hypaxia, having not taken the antidote yet, cannot fully bring back someone in their body. But I feel like if he's dead and if he's just floating around, she's going to be able to bring him back in his body, like bring the body back together. Kind of like how.
But here's the thing: if he's not dead and she can't sense him because he's not there,
she's gonna be like, I don't like. He's not dead. He's not here. He's not in the bone quarter.
Yeah.
Hypaxia is not going to be able to be like, she's going to be like, he ain't here. And Bryce is going to be like, well, he ain't in the other world because I saw everybody there. He ain't there either. Where is he, bitch? And Rune's going to freak out. Yeah. He's going to be like, I was actually on good terms with him. Find him. And then they're going to have to like, and then they're going to have to like scry. I feel like it would be really cool if Lydia scried because we know that she has her witch side and she never used her witch side yet.
That would be cool.
I want her to scry for Cormac. And also, like calls to like, we know that they're both fucking related to Aelin. Come on.
Oh yeah.
I was saying that what were we saying? Oh, Hypaxia. We were talking about Hypaxia because I fucking love her. And yeah, we were basically saying that she might be like the Minorian and Kaolin Reen descendant from the line, because she looks exactly like Irene. Because
she does sound like Irene.
Well,
and she's also a healer, like Irene.
Holy shit.
Because I was saying that we know Rowaylan had a ton of kids, and we know that Kaol and Irene had at least one child. And if Minorian had a bunch of kids, which let's be honest, they probably did, we know that Lydia is a descendant of the Minorian and Rowaylan line. Tamlin is a descendant of the Rowaylan and Lysadian line. And fucking Hypaxia is a descendant of the Minorian, her Croken side, and Kaol and Irene line.
So wait, wouldn't that make Lydia and Hypaxia not only half sisters, but like distant cousins as well?
They are.
Oh, it's a wreath.
I know, it's a wreath. It's a fucking wreath. Right?
But how did they all get scattered on the 3 different worlds? That's my thing.
The Asteri brought them, remember? The shifters and the high fae. They dragged them there.
Also,
yeah, but
the Asteri had the fae as slaves before the fae had humans as slaves.
So, and they bred the high fae ears out of the shifters and made them believe that they were a different species.
The Archerons! Oh my god!
Oh yeah, that's the other thing that I said. I said, what if we had it backwards because Papa A is the seer? I said, what if Papa A was the rare Croken witch descendant prince, and Mama A was the half fae, and that's why she's connected to the Spring Court.
Also, Papa A was known as the Prince of Merchants, and Mama A was like, Nesta, you are going to marry a prince. That's curious.
I know.
Why specifically a prince?
Prince Cormac, for example.
Yeah.
Like, right when Rigellus is
no way! No!
And also, Olivia, like calls to like, Hypaxia is a necromancer. Nesta is technically a necromancer. If Bryce's trilogy is over, and I was telling her how like it kind of seems final and we don't really know if the portals will ever open again. But if Koshi is the big bad Val King Asteri that Rigellus and all his people wanted to get back to, then, and Nesta has the blades, Nesta would have to be the one to open the portal. And I like calls to like, and I really, 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 really want Nesta to meet Hypaxia. And then maybe I can get my Hypaxia and more ship. Because I want it.
You should post it on Tumblr.
And I also said that, like, what do we think is going to happen for CC4? And, you know, is Cormac going to send Rune and Bryce a message or a clue that's really subtle that says, hey, I'm okay, I'm all right, I'm not dead? Or are they going to go to Hypaxia and be like, so is he in the Bone Quarter? And she scries or does something and she's like, he's not here. I can't find his soul anywhere. He's not on this realm.
Okay.
Which is why I'm mad the astronomer is dead, because then they could have gone to the astronomer and been like, find him in the fucking universe. Where are the mystics? I want to know what the fuck they did with the mystics.
Yeah.
Where are they? They're gonna search for Cormac using the mystics, I swear to God. They're gonna be like, he's on another planet, and then we're just not gonna know till like ACOWAR 7 in 7 years from now.
I was gonna say, you guys, by the time this comes out, we're all gonna be so old. By the time this 40s book comes out.
Dude, Cormac's not even gonna show up in ACOWAR 6. It's gonna be ACOWAR 7 after CC4.
So we're talking like 10 years down the road.
Ain't happening anytime soon, because Tamlin's gonna heal and the Dust Court's gonna be liberated.
Like, Sarah's kids are gonna be graduating from college.
I know.
Sarah's kids are gonna be graduating from college by the time we find out what happens.
We're literally gonna be in our like 40s and 50s. Like, you guys, the book's
Sarah
coming out.
Mass is gonna be like 75 and writing ACOWAR 8.
Damn.
Bitch, you better find a goddamn necromancer to bring you back if you die before you finish this fucking series.
Oh my God.
Well, I know, I saw her like post on at the Taylor Swift concert the other night, and I was like, oh, that's really, really sweet. I'm really happy for her.
Second thought was like, get back to your desk, demon. Our anger was like, get the fuck back to your desk.
But also, I'm like, can you just like give us a hint, just like a little something on your Instagram?
Yes.
Bloomsbury did today. I texted yo.
I saw it, but I won't watch any of their stuff. They make me so mad.
No, you're so bitter about the citrus tree thing. I'm bitter.
So bitter about How Fast. I'm so bitter about the leak. I'm so bitter about that last book. Everything in it.
I'm just okay. Yeah. I know how this is gonna come to be. Picture it right now. CC4, right? CC4. Rune,
in 10 years.
Rune goes, yeah, literally like 10 years from now.
Oh my god, so
Rune
sad.
goes to tell his mom that Einar is dead. His mom is nowhere to be seen. He can't find her anywhere. He's frantic that the Asteri killed her in the attack, which you should have fucking thought about before, but I digress. Or maybe at your wedding. But anyways, can't find her anywhere. Freaks out. Goes to fucking, like, doesn't know where to find her. I don't know. Goes to a mystic and is like, please find my mom. I don't know where she is. Is she dead? While they're doing that, he goes to HYPAXIA to ask if his mom is dead somewhere. And HYPAXIA is like, no, she's not here, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, oh, well, also, can you, like, at least get a message to Cormac? Like, can I talk to him? Or can you at least tell him, like, oh, we did it and the Asteri are gone or whatever? And she's going to be like, he ain't here either. What are you talking about? And Rune's going to be like, and Rune's going to be like, what do you mean? Like, he's dead. And she's going to be like, he's not dead. And she's going to be like, he's dead. She's going to be like, he's not dead. He's not here. I can't summon his soul. I took the antidote. I can summon everybody and their mother, except for your mother, because she ain't dead either. but he ain't here, and she ain't here, and I don't know where either of them went because Lorin took baby Cormac to Crescent City when she left Prythian the first time and gave him to Morven, her cousin, to raise for more, her other cousin, who had a baby out of wedlock that the Autumn Court was after, and Kier was after. And so they both went back to Prythian because they were in secret cahoots with each other. And honestly, we would
just love the lore of this.
And Rune is gonna be like, what the fuck are you talking about? And Bryce is gonna be like, Rune, I told you that other world was like the original world of the home world of the Fae and stuff. And like, obviously we kind of come from there. And like, Nesta was pretty chill, blah, 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 blah. And you kind of looked like this other dude, Nesta's High Lord, that she didn't really like, and I hated the guts of as well. And he's gonna be like, what are you talking about? She's gonna be like, yeah, he looked exactly like you, but with short hair. And then she's gonna be like,
and he was a jerk.
Yeah. And then she's gonna be like, on second thought, she actually looked exactly like him too. And weird, because your mom kind of could have been his twin, the way that you're kind of his twin. And maybe you're all family because we all descend from there. And then it's gonna turn into this whole thing. And they're gonna go on a field trip in Prythian. And Lorin's gonna be fucking Tamlin in the middle of a field, and Cormac's gonna be making moon eyes at Nesta as she terrifies Rhys, and Rhys is gonna be all valgy and ragey because Lorin is in love with Tamlin. And Tamlin's gonna be like, what the fuck is happening? And Elaine's gonna be like, I saw none of this.
She's gonna be Elaine is gonna be like, man, I've seen enough private parts to like 2 Ellas. I'm good.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I don't want none of this.
Everyone's gonna be mad at Elaine, like, how did you not foresee this? And she's gonna be like, bitch, I don't know. And Bryce is just gonna pop out of the portal like, what do you go? That's what she's
Elaine's gonna be smoking her opium pipe and just be like, just let me masturbate and shut the fuck up.
Oh my god.
This, you know what? Sarah doesn't need to write Crescent 4 because you just did it, or you both just did it right there.
And then meanwhile, fucking Lorin's gonna be like, oh, guess what, Tamlin? Your cousins are also in my world. And meanwhile, Sathia is gonna be having a fucking breakdown because the love of her life got killed by the Viper Queen. And Tharion's gonna be like, please just love me. And like very puppy dog, early Cassian-esque. You're my wife, love me. And then Ethan's gonna be like, oh shit, my best friend is my mate, very Vivian and Callius-esque. And Perry's gonna be like, I had to hide it from you because you were way too traumatized to know this at the time. I was trying to protect you, just like how Callius was trying to protect Vivian from being stuck under the mountain, so he gave her his magic. And that's gonna be that whole thing. And HYPAXIA is gonna be like, I'm a fucking death god. I can do anything. and then Rhys is gonna be like, hey, nephew, where's your mate's sister? Can she bring back my mom, maybe? Because everybody else is coming back from the dead.
And he'd be like, no, grandma's dead, but look, I brought mom.
And then Lauren's gonna be like, oh, by the way, mom was also a necromancer and she prefers Nesta to you, bro, so she helped bring Thera back. She helped bring Thera back for you, but she helped Nesta, so
yeah. And like, you act a lot like dad, so fuck you.
she'll come back and she'll be like, you still haven't liberated the Illyrian females? How long have you been in power, bro? Really?
Yeah.
Just like
she's
that.
totally gonna grill him on that, and I'm gonna be laughing my butt off.
I swear to fuck, if Lorin does not come back and give Rhys shit, I'm gonna be so mad.
I
want her to give Amren shit too, because that bitch needs to be put in her place. I just do not like Amren.
And more. Put more in her place too.
More needs to be put in her place.
But Amren just ooh.
Yeah.
Ever since ACOWAR, I'm like, I don't trust this bitch.
Fury's gonna pop back and be like, hey mom, how are ya? Going up to Amren, and Barion's gonna be like, you have a child? And Amren's gonna be like, I thought I got rid of you a long time ago. And she's gonna be like, well, I've been talking to Dad down in Hewn City, and you know, Bryce kind of fucked up his plans way back when, and she's gonna give Amren the lowdown. But the fact that Fury came and visited her dad Thanatos and chose not to visit her mother Amren, more mama issues. She's gonna be like, mom prefers out her great whatever grandchild to her actual daughter, and I'm bitter about that. Yeah, we were talking about Fury being Thanatos'. She has to be Thanatos'. That's the only explanation.
Yeah,
because the whole House of Earth and Blood was during ACOWAR, and when she was MIA after Danica and everyone died.
I was trying to figure that timeline out, like what lines up with what?
It does line up. It does line up. Yeah, I was telling her how someone like posted it the other day. I forgot to save it. I wish I did. Fury.
I can see that.
Fury, and again, Fury being a princess of hell, she would be able to go through the rifts the same as the princes.
True. We also are not bringing up Ariana enough, because she's gonna have a major role in the next book, right? And we still haven't figured that whole thing out. Yeah.
See, I go back and forth because we also thought that Sigrid was going to.
Yeah, what was that? That was
oh no, I got her fired up.
No, I can't.
Not Sigrid again.
I don't bring it. You know how I feel about Sigrid. You know what that does to me. Almost as bad as Connor's death. I will go on a rant. I cannot be stopped.
I'm still convinced that the whole Sigrid thing is going to end up being the Victoria thing, but yeah.
Wait, what do you mean? The Victoria? Like she's going to go get Victoria?
No. Sigrid being the Reaper. How Ethan wants Hypaxia to bring her back, which Hypaxia would be able to now because she, she takes the antidote. She'd be able to bring her back like in her body and all this stuff. But Sigrid doesn't want to live because she loved her sister and she did everything for her sister, and Sabine killed her. So she's going to give them permission to use her body to put Victoria in.
Oh, I love that actually.
Because Victoria's kind of like a shadow wraith, I think, right?
Yeah, so she sounds like Nuala and Caradwyn, right?
Yeah, but Nuala and Caradwyn are half, so they already like have like a form or whatever, but Victoria actually needed to inhabit a body. She's like literally just like a spirit. So that's why she couldn't bring her back in Hofast, because there was no like body to put her in. Like technically you could put her in a mech suit, but that's not really a way to live, you know? So she needed like an actual like working body to put her in. And so I think she's gonna let Hypaxia use her body to put Victoria in.
Now, what is going to be the benefit of bringing Victoria back after all this time? Because they said she was already crazy by being on the ocean floor.
They think.
Yeah.
Also, can I just say I'm a little bit bitter that we didn't see Justinian in the Bone Quarter? Because, I mean, maybe CC4. Maybe. Because, again, Hypaxia and all of her gifts. I feel like Hunt never got a goodbye with his friends either. Like Bryce did. And I really, like, Justinian, I was so upset when they killed him.
I know.
It was because it was Justinian and Victoria and Hunt, and they were like the little trio, which kind of reminded me of like Tamlin and Lucian and Feyre. And they threw Victoria in the box after ripping her out of the body and threw her in the trench, and they crucified Justinian. I was so sad.
It was awful.
Oh my god. And like, and then when like Hunt had to go there after, like when Bryce was gonna give herself up, and he was like, his body was still hanging there, which again, Claire better.
Yeah.
His body was still like upside down. Crucified upside down, like, oh my god. And like his wings were cut off, and
so there's a theme with constantly cutting off the wings. There's always a theme with the wings,
or like just hanging someone up on the wall to die, like Claire. The Children of the Blessed, Hybern did the same thing, hung them up on the wall. Briar was hung up on the wall beside two of her friends who were already corpses.
Ooh.
Which
that girl has been through so much.
But also then I
hope Briar gets her happy ending.
I know, she has to be his mate.
But if Lorin is fucking him in the field, how is that going to play out?
Well, Lauren's going to go back to Crescent City because she wants to know her grandchildren.
She's not going to go back to Crescent City. There's no way.
Yes, she is. Also, Rhys is still the ruler, and Nesta's the new ruler of Dusk. Lorin really doesn't have any reason to stay in Prythian. Her whole life is already in, like, Rune and everyone is in Lunathian.
Well, Tamlin might go with Lorin to Crescent City, and then Elaine might inherit the Spring Court because she's so Spring Court coded.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening. I definitely see Elaine in Day. What do you need, Elaine? Sunshine. Not flowers.
Why is she so associated with spring? Everything she does is spring and
She's
blah, 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 blah,
not. The only
It's a
person who
hobby.
says that are her sisters, who are consistently wrong about her. Consistently
there's
wrong
that.
about her.
Yeah.
Nobody
Besides-
else says that she's spring coated. Nobody.
Besides-
Just Nesta. And Nesta
Besides-
babies her.
Besides, she likes opium. That's why she sees sunshine and flowers, because she's high as a fucking kite.
Also, she
know what?
doesn't have the spring court scent. She has the day court scent.
Oh, that's true.
She has the jasmine and honey scent.
Does
That's
she?
the day court. Jasmine's
I
the
know
day
it is.
court.
I know.
Lilac is
I-
the spring court, which again, fucking Feyre. Lilac and pear.
Like, why did she? I know. Oh.
I don't know. It's so confusing.
What was Nesta's scent again?
Steel and
Embers.
Embers.
Ember.
Ember.
And Cassian was Embers too, right?
Yeah,
I think-
something. Fire and
Yeah.
whatever. She was trying to
I
fit
think
in
it
a
was-
box.
It was
so
lame.
upset about that. Yeah, it was so lame. I get so upset about that. I do think Cassian, I think she was going for like a fire and ice thing with him and Cassian, but it was just lame.
But Azriel has the dusk sense.
Wait, what's
Yeah,
dust
we went
again?
over that. Yeah.
I missed it.
The
Cloves.
Starborn scent.
Yeah.
No, not clove. Cedar.
Yeah.
Cedar.
Starborn scent. Cedar. But really quick, going back to Briar, there's literally a quote like, this is why I think Tamlin, I've probably said it before a million times, but this is why I think Tamlin heals her, because there's a quote where Feyre sees her hanging on the rack on the wall, like next to her two dead friends. And first of all, that kind of
Briar?
reminds, yeah, she was hanging on
okay.
she was hanging by like the grate on the wall. And which again, how the fuck did Jurian get her down from Hybern shackles? Ain't no fucking way it had to be Tamlin. Right? Or Lucian, but we didn't get any hint that Lucian was there, so
Yeah.
Jurian with his cauldron weirdness or Tamlin. But anyways, she's hanging on the grate between her two dead friends, and it kind of reminds me of Tamlin being forced to feel his friends die. Because he didn't have to see it, but he had to feel it. Briar had to see it. Kind of a little mirror there. But anyways, Feyre says like, oh, between two others who, by the looks of them, had been dead for days or whatever, but this one had held out longer for some reason.
Some reason.
She doesn't say some reason. She says some. I was paraphrasing, but she says this one had held out longer. And she didn't really know why. And I just thought it was really funny because it's so. I know we've been over it a million times, but like, oh my god, it was just like, see, me and the little code words. I know what to do. Oh yeah, Jurian was trying to get her to leave her for some reason. What the fuck, Jurian?
Leave her.
Yeah, because he was like talking about Elaine. He says she's in his tent chained with steel and a little spell from his favorite book. She was talking about Elaine. Or he was talking about Elaine. Also in Hybern's tent. Gross. He was definitely going after her.
Yeah.
And then she goes like, shit, perhaps I should have gotten Helion, who could break almost any ... Jurian caught my chin between his thumb and forefinger. Come to my tent with me, Ianthe. Let's see what that pretty mouth can do. It was an effort not to recoil. Seems like you already got some steel in you. No need for mine. It's so gross.
Wow.
What the fuck? And then she says, what of the girl on the rack? Darkness flickered in those eyes. There have been many before her and many will come after. I can't leave her here. Which, this is another beautiful thing because I feel like just the poeticism of Feyre saving Tamlin's mate is like so something we needed.
Yeah, I
Right.
like that. That's nice.
Your sister or her, you won't be able to take two. Get her to me and I'll make it happen. Ah, here it is. It was before that. Azriel's shadow hand grasped my own, tugging me closer. His rage rippled off his invisible form because they were screaming. All the rest of the children of the blessed, somewhere that they couldn't see, were screaming.
Oh shit.
The screaming. It was not Elaine. It was not Elaine who hung from a rack near a makeshift dais of granite. It was one of the children of the blessed, young and slender. My stomach twisted, threatening to surge up my throat. Two others were chained up beside her. From the way they sagged, the injuries on their naked bodies. ... Claire, it was like Claire, what had been done to them. And like Claire, they had been left there to rot for the crows surely to arrive at dawn to pick at them. This one had held out for longer. I couldn't. Couldn't leave her there. But if I lingered too long, they would see. And drawing attention to myself, ... Could I live with it? I'd once killed two innocent people to save Tamlin and his people. I'd be as good as killing her as well if I left her here in favor of saving my sister. See, this is the clarified Feyre.
That's real Feyre.
Away from Rhys's shit.
Yeah, that's real Feyre. That's the Feyre I fell in love with in book 1.
Agreed.
It's coming.
Agreed.
Yeah, like just I want Briar to be his mate so much, but also for the fact that Feyre was the one that saved his mate.
I also want Feyre to be liberated.
And then she goes, stranger. She was just a stranger. ...
That's Reese talking. That's Reese talking.
I know. And then I never caught this because I didn't highlight it. You know what Jurian says to Feyre when he comes up behind her? He says, he's been looking for you, drawled a male voice.
Ew.
Okay, Reese, I've been looking for you. Jurian, what the fuck? He's been looking for you. Talking about
Who is he talking?
Hybern.
Oh, Hybern's been looking.
Hybern, whose general was Amarantha, whose little toy was Reese. Looks like, and also Reese calling her darling and Amarantha calling her darling. It's a little too weird.
That was weird.
Yeah, agreed. He's still the villain, I swear.
I pivoted to find Jurian striding from behind 2 tents, buckling his sword belt. I glanced at the dais, and as if an invisible hand wiped away the smoke, there sat the king of Hybern. So he was like watching as they died, hung up on the thing, just like Amarantha.
And there was smoke in front of him? What?
Like, shadows, maybe?
Or I'm thinking like mist too. Like mist something?
I don't know. He lounged in his chair, head propped on a fist, face a mask of vague amusement as he surveyed the revelry, the torture, and the torment.
That sounds like Reese.
Yeah, in the adulation of the crowd that occasionally turned to toast or bow to him.
That sounds like Reese in the Court of Nightmares.
Yup. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I'm telling you, Reese is getting worse on purpose.
Fuck.
And also, the way that Feyre says, I willed my voice to soften, adapted that lilt. I've been busy with my sisters. She's supposed to be Ianthe. Like, doesn't everyone know her sisters are dead? Unless, I don't know.
Maybe she forgot.
Jurian stared at me for a long moment, eyes sliding to the siphon atop my head. I knew the moment he realized who I was. Those brown eyes flared, but barely. Where is she? I breathed. Jurian gave me a cocky grin. Not directed at me, but anyone watching us. You've been lusting after me for weeks now. Act like it. I laid a hand on his forearm, batting my eyelashes.
I know.
A bemused snort. I have trouble believing that this is how you won his heart. I tried not to scowl.
Who won whose heart?
I love Jurian.
How Feyre won Reese's heart because she just kind of put a hand on his arm and he's like, really? Lame. Where is she? Safe, untouched. Not for long. It gave him a shock when she appeared before the cauldron. He had her contained. Came here to brood over what to do with her and how to make you pay for it. Still sounds like Reese. With Nesta.
Yeah. I don't know. They just sound so much alike. It's creepy.
I don't know. Where is she? Jurian leaned in as if he'd kissed me and brought his mouth to my ear. Were you smart enough to kill her before you took her skin?
I love how you love Jurian so much.
He's such
a good anti-hero.
Yeah. But also, like, what's his point? Like, what
his point? Also, his fucking magic, I swear. His cauldron made.
He knows what everyone's gifts are. He's the one that knows what everyone's like talents are.
And I've been over this over and over and over, but the fucking quote by Prythian when he's like, oh, the human male or whatever he is now. He didn't know what he was now because he's fucking cauldron made. But again, the sisters didn't need 2 weeks to heal from the cauldron. But again, they already had bodies, so who knows?
Oh boy.
Is Hybern like... Actually, Hybern could be like the Underking because he was using the second light.
We talked about that, remember?
But I'm saying like if he's like the Underking, that would kind of make him like the ultimate necromancer. And he would want to play with life and death with the cauldron. Yes. If Jurian's not there with the girl in time, ... then you will go. I'll get her. See, I like this, Feyre. She was so willing to stay there to save an innocent person.
Yeah, I miss that Feyre.
I know.
Me too.
That was real Feyre, not...
Also, Azrael's siphons blazed and the canvas of the back of the tent melted into nothing. That kind of sounds like Nesta's silver flames. Shadows won't last long. Why? Why won't your shadows last long? Oh! For in the east behind us, ... the sun was beginning to rise. How
like a gargoyle?
Fucking telling. His shadows hate the sun. His shadows disappear in the sun. Why?
They disappear around Elaine.
Yes!
Or they disappear around Lucian, and that's also why he doesn't want to spy on Elaine and Lucian.
They disappear around Elaine, though, because she's the future High Lady of the Day Court! Dude, I didn't even have that highlighting that.
Now you have to.
I have to put that on Tumblr. That is a good quote.
Yeah, it is.
Going with the Akasif one where they're like swirling like at the edge of the ring, like where it's shady because they were afraid of the sun. He literally says that they're afraid of the sun. Now, see, this is why I say Tamlin definitely had to have killed her, because it says, a piercing howl split the dying night, and I knew they'd realized what we'd done, that we were here, and even if they couldn't see us, ... the king of Hybern's hounds could scent us. Sounds like the smoke hounds.
Sounds like the Underking's hounds.
Yeah, exactly. Faster, Azriel snarled. The earth shuddered behind us. I didn't dare look back. We neared a rack of weapons. I sheathed my knives, freeing my hands as we hurtled past, and I snatched a bow and quiver of arrows from their stand. Ash arrows. Out of all of the things, you went with your tried and true method, Feyre. I love how she cracked a bow and arrow.
I mean, at least in this aspect, she's consistent.
Ash arrows, though. The arrows clacked as I slung the quiver over his shoulder. As I knocked an arrow into place, Azriel cut right, swerving around a tent, and with the angle, I turned and fired. The nearest hound, it was not a hound, I realized, as the arrow spiraled for its head, some cousin of the Naga, blah, 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 blah. My arrow went right through its throat. It went down, and we rounded the tent. I knocked another arrow, 3 others, 3 more behind us, gaining with every clawed step. I could feel them around us, Hybern commanders racing along with the hounds, tracking the beasts because they still could not see us. Weird that she couldn't see them either. That arrow I fired had told them enough about the distance, but the moment the hounds caught up, these commanders would appear, kill us, or drag us away. They're just like appearing out of thin air. It's always weird to me how Hybern could track people using their magic, but that just kind of lends to the fact that he's a stary.
Wait, so is Hybern the one who can sense power in other people?
I mean, all the Asteri can, but maybe Jurian. Remember that theory that I was like, what if Jurian's part of Asteri now? Azriel's blue shirt shuddered on the impact, but held. Our shadows shivered and faded. The hounds closed in. That was a cliff at the other edge of the camp, a cliff with a very, very long drop and an unforgiving river below. And standing at its end, huddled in a dark cloak, that was the girl. The cloak! The cloak made mirrors! She has a cloak!
Wait, what?
Briar has a cloak!
Briar has a cloak. What kind of cloak?
It just says a dark cloak. Who gave her the cloak? Fucking Tamlin had to have given her the cloak.
Oh, just like how Lucian gave...
Like Lucian and Elaine with the jacket. Azriel and Gwen with the cloak. Balthazar and Emery with the cloak. Oh my god. Jurian had left her there for us. Where he'd gone, I saw no sign of him, because it wasn't fucking Jurian, it was Tamlin. Behind us, filling the air as if he used magic to do so, the king spoke. Through the air. Particles. Intrepid thieves, how shall I punish you? Get her out, Azriel, I begged him, panting. I'll get the others. We're all, that's an order. I love this Feyre. I do love this Feyre. You need to, I felt the impact before the pain. She was hit by the ash arrow. Blah, 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 blah. Torturing you would be so dull, the king mused, at least the traditional sort of torture. How Rhysand shall rage, how he shall panic, his mate at last come to see me. Before I could warn Azriel to hurry, the other 2 hounds were on me. One leapt right for me. I lifted my bow to intercept its jaws. The hound snapped it in 2, curling the wood away. I grabbed for a knife just as the second one leaped. A roar deafened me, made my head ring, just as one of the hounds was thrown off me. I knew that roar. I knew, ... A golden-furred beast with curling horns tore into the hounds. Tamlin, I got out, but his green eyes narrowed. Run, he seemed to say. That was who had been running. That was who had been running alongside us, trying to find us. Because he fucking left Briar there and went back to try to stop the hounds.
And he still loves Feyre.
He ripped and shredded, the hounds launching themselves wholly on him. The king paused. Or at this point, I know that Rhys and everyone is like, oh, he loves Feyre, but or at this point, what if he's just grateful that she helped to save his mate? Because Tamlin would have been already found out, like, if he had to get Briar down, like, and even then, he had no way of getting her off the island.
But does he know that she's his mate, though?
I don't know. I don't know if it's snapped or if he's just feeling, like, protective. I don't know. Ripped and shredded, the hounds launching themselves wholly on him. The king paused, and though he remained far off, I could clearly make out the surprise slackening his face. Oh, damn it. This is when I was like, oh, fuck, he's in trouble, too. Oh, my God. Azriel gripped me by the collar, blah, blah, blah. 6 more hounds closed in. Tamlin still fought the others, gaining ground, holding the line. The young woman, this is why I say that she's his mate, because earlier in ACOWAR, with the other children of the Blessed, it was made very clear that they were still teenage children. And here it says young woman. That's why I was like, Briar's his mate. This is why she made her a woman and not a child. Because Feyre was calling her girl, and then she's like, oh, she's a young woman. She's just, very skinny from being tortured and shit. The young woman was still standing at the edge of the cliff, watching us with wide eyes, her black hair whipping over her face. I'd never made a running takeoff before, and even if Azriel took the girl in his free arm, Tamlin yet let out a yelp of what sounded like pain, followed by another earth-shattering roar. The rest of the hounds had reached him. He did not falter. He did not yield an inch to them. Okay, Aelin. Okay, Aelin. I see you. I see you, boy.
She is.
Come on. The only two people. I think Cormac had a yield one. I think the only 3 people that have yields, aside from Feyre, because it's her narrative, are Aelin, Lydia, and Cormac, which makes sense.
But here's the thing. Also notice, Rhys is nowhere in sight, and she isn't hating on Tamlin.
And she's funny.
Grateful to him.
I know.
When Rhys is around, she hates him. But when it's just her, she acts normal.
Yep. And not for nothing, but also he could feel her distress at the wedding enough to come snatch her from the wedding. Where are you, Rhys? She's being fucking attacked by fucking hellhounds. Where are you? Your brother is being attacked and shredded by fucking hellhounds. Where are you? Where is he? And also,
in between the worlds?
Well, see, here's the thing. Hybern attacks them. Rhys doesn't show up to fight Hybern this time, apparently. Cassian and Azriel are attacked by Koshi. Rhys doesn't show up. It's very suspicious.
Is he going back in time?
I don't know. It's so weird. Oh. Grab onto him, Elaine ordered the wide-eyed human girl as Azriel thundered toward her. She looked, and this is another quote that I love to bring up when people ask me why I think that they're mates, because it lends back to book 1. She looked like a doe about to be run down by a wolf. She did not open her arms as they neared. Elaine screamed at her, "If you want to live, do it now!" Yes, Elaine.
I love fierce Elaine.
Yes, Elaine. The girl dropped her cloak and opened her arms wide. Her black hair streamed behind Azriel, catching among his wings as he practically tackled her into the sky. But I saw, even as I ran, Elaine's pale hands lurch, gripping her by the neck, holding her as tightly as she could to them. And just in time. Good job, Elaine. One of the hounds broke free from Tamlin in a mighty leap. I ducked, bracing for impact, but it was not aiming for me. 2 bounding strides toward the stone ledge and another leap. Azriel's roar echoed off the rocks as the hound slammed into him, dragging the shredding talons down his spine and his wings.
That sounds beautiful.
The girl screamed, but Elaine moved. As Azriel battled to keep them airborne, keep his grip on them, my sister sent a fierce kick into the beast's face. Its eye, another.
See? Like, Elaine is good with emotional stuff. Like, she's able to stay clear-headed.
Because Briar was terrified.
But also, too, like, Elaine was able to stay clear-headed when Nesta and Feyre were terrified.
Elaine slammed her bare, muddy foot into its face again. The blow struck home. With a yelp of pain, it released its claws and plunged into the ravine. Blood sprayed from Azriel's back, his wings, but he remained in the air. Blue light splayed over the wounds, staunching the blood, stabilizing his wings. He beheld what charged after me, the sprint ahead. There was terror in his eyes as he watched me make the run. Another hound broke past Tamlin's guard, came barreling down that narrow stretch of rock, clouds gouging the stone beneath. I could have sworn the king laughed from behind. Blah, 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 blah. Her trying to get her wings up. The king fired another arrow, too. One for me, one soaring for Elaine's exposed back. Azriel slammed both away with a blue shield. I didn't look to see if the shield extended to Tamlin. Literally, even here, she's still thinking of Tamlin's safety.
Yeah, like, when Rhys is around, she doesn't do that. She doesn't care. She's mean, she's petty, and, like, when he's not in her head, but, like, that...
He's too distracted right now to be in her head. He was like, I was on errands.
Yeah, he's too distracted right now to be in her head, and she is normal, and she still cares, and she's herself. She's Feyre. She's not whipped Feyre, who's whipped by the mate bond. She's just Feyre. The Feyre from book 1.
5 steps. I knew that whatever force had compelled me to learn to fly, somehow it had known that this moment was coming. All of it for this moment. And with barely 3 steps to the edge of the cliff, a warm wind kissed with lilac and new grass blasted up from beneath me, a wind of spring, lifting me and filling my wings. The king fired again, the arrow tipped with glimmering amethyst power. Second light. Whatever magic the king had wrapped around it, Azriel grunted in pain. Azriel turned, the girl moaning in terror as he lost a few feet into the sky. Honestly, who wouldn't? That's like being in an airplane that dips 5 feet before he leveled out and soared beside me. Blah, 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 blah. Tamlin was surrounded by the hounds, bleeding, panting, still in his beast form. See? He sent the wind in a fucking beast form. It's not natural.
Yes.
It's a mate thing. I swear to God. It's a mate thing. Bleeding, panting, still in beast form, the king was perhaps 30 feet away and livid, utterly livid, as he beheld the hole that I ripped in the wards. Tamlin made the most of his distraction.
Wait a minute. What do you mean it's a mate thing? With the wind?
when Tamlin bolsters Azriel, I think it's the same thing with Briar. Because he could have just helped Feyre. He didn't have to help Azriel. It says, Tamlin made the most of his distraction. He did not glance toward us as he made a break for the cliff edge. He leaped far, far and wide, farther than any beast or fae should be able to, because he's part of Aelin's line, bitch. That wind he'd sent my way now bolstered him, guiding him through that hole he'd swept through. Tamlin cleared it and winnowed away, still not looking at me as I gripped Azriel's hand and we vanished as well. And then Azriel's power gave out on the outskirts of the camp. The girl, despite her burns and lashings on her moon-white skin, was able to walk. Sounds like a lead. The black hair and the moonlight skin.
Yes, it does.
Is Briar Lead's baby girl? I don't know.
Well, at least now we found out what Lorin did. Sort of.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. Oh my god. I pressed a hand against the wound in my shoulder to keep the bleeding minimal. The girl went so far as to even offer to use her lingering scraps of clothing to bind it. This is such a mirror to Feyre in like book 1. Like after she got used to the Fae and everything, she would like, you know, she didn't want people to be hurting, and I don't know. I didn't have the breath to explain that I was Fae and that there had been an ash in my skin. I needed to see a healer before it set and sealed in any splinters, so I just asked for her name. Briar, she said, her voice raw from screaming. Her name was Briar. She did not seem to mind the mud that squelched under her feet and splattered her bare shins. She only gazed at the tents and the soldiers who stumbled out. Kind of seems unbothered for a human. One saw Azriel and shouted for a healer to hurry for the spy master's tent. Who knows Azriel?
Azriel he is spy master.
It's one of his, one of his spies in the Winter Court. Maybe. One saw Az and which again mirrors Lucian. Oh, my contact in the Winter Court. Rhys winnowed into our path before we made it past the first line of tents. His eyes went right to Azriel's wings, then the wound in my shoulder, the paleness of my face, to Elaine, then Briar. I couldn't leave her, I said, surprised to find my own voice raw. Running steps approached, and then Nesta rounded a tent, skidding to a halt in the mud. She let out a sob at the sight of Elaine. Never heard a sound like that from her, not once. She isn't hurt, I said into her mind. Nesta broke into another sprint. I reached for Rhys, his face taut as he stalked for us, but Nesta got there first. I swallowed my shout of pain as Nesta's arms went around my neck, and she embraced me so hard it snatched my breath away. People say she doesn't care about Feyre.
She loves her baby sisters.
Her body shook as she sobbed and said over and over and over, thank you. Rhys lunged for Azriel, taking Elaine from him, setting her down. We need Helion to get the chains off of her. Yeah, so who the fuck got Briar's off? This will... Oh, who? Was Lucian?
The wind.
I don't think Tamlin would have left Lucian there.
No, the wind. Tamlin's wind.
I don't remember the healer who patched me up or how Rhys bathed me, how I told him what happened with Jurian and Tamlin, Nesta hovering around Elaine as Helion came to remove her chains, cursing the king's handiwork, even as he admired its quality. Helion had a hard time getting the chains off. It had to have been Jurian with Cauldron magic then. It had to have been.
Yeah.
But I still feel like Tamlin's the one who got her to the cliff and put the cloak on her. But I did remember lying down on the bearskin rug once it was done, how I felt Elaine's slim body settle next to mine and curl into my side, careful not to touch the bandage wound in my shoulder. I had not realized how cold I was until her warmth seeped into me. She's the fucking sun. Sunlight. She is, like her mate. A moment later, another warm body nestled on my left. Nesta's scent drifted over me. Fire and steel and unbending will. There we go. I heard Rhys usher everyone out to join him in checking on Azriel. I don't know how long my sisters and I laid there together, just that we had once shared the carved bed in that dilapidated cottage. Back then, we had kicked and twisted and fought for any bit of space, but that morning, as the sun rose over the world, we held tight and did not let go.
I cried during that. I legit cried.
I got teary-eyed on the next page, the beginning of chapter 66, when she finally admitted that Tamlin was a good person. Which is why I get so mad that after Rhys literally rips him to shreds in ACOWAR, Feyre is like, well, you didn't say anything wrong. What?
It just... Whenever he's around, she just doesn't act right.
Alias and his army arrived before noon. It was only the sound of it that woke me from where my sisters and I dozed on the floor. That and a thought that clanged through me. Tamlin. Funny how the first thought she has when waking up is of Tamlin.
Because it's truth.
His actions would cover Jurian's betrayal. I had no doubt Tamlin hadn't gone back to Hybern's army after meeting to betray us, but to play spy. And everyone fucking ignores this quote. It drives me mental. Because not only do they later admit it in the fucking High Lords meeting, after the High Lord meeting, but she says it right now, too.
Yeah.
Though after last night, it was unlikely he'd get close to Hybern again, not when the king himself had witnessed everything. I didn't know what to make of it, that he'd saved me, that he'd given up his deception to do so. Again, admitting that Tamlin was a spy and never working with Hybern. Where had he gone when he winnowed? We hadn't heard anything about the Spring Court forces. They're dead, bitch. You killed them. What are you talking about?
Like, what Spring Court forces? Everyone left.
Forces? You turned them on each other so that they killed each other. That wind he'd set, ... I'd never seen him use such a power. This is why I'm like, it's a fucking mate thing. He wanted to save Briar, and he still loved Feyre, so then he's like, I'm gonna save all of you. Come on.
He's such a sweetie.
I'd never seen him use such a power, but also you kind of did in book 1 when he literally crumbled under the mountain. But okay.
She saw a glimpse of his true power.
Yeah. The Nesta philosophy indeed. I love that. The weakness that had transformed into a strength hadn't been my wings, my flying, but Tamlin. If he hadn't interfered, I didn't let myself consider. That is my favorite quote of like the whole series.
Like, Rhys was distracted doing something else, and like this is the time where she's actually thinking about Tamlin other than being Rhys's puppet.
Mm-hmm. The weakness that transformed into my strength was Tamlin. Interesting.
I think she still loves him too. And she just either she won't see it or Rhys is blocking it.
Yeah. A winged matron asked if I needed anything. And then the thing with more. Okay, first, Callias's army, because the Winter Court does not get a lot of credit, and I feel like they deserve more credit, especially because Vivian is their general, and I love her. But can we just go over like how they're described? Because I kind of actually really love it, and I always kind of just skim over blocks of like description, but I really shouldn't. It says, Callias's army was still winnowing in supplies and units of warriors, his court made up of high fae with either his snow-white hair or hair of blackest night, which that kind of goes with Briar right now, but skin ranging from moon pale to rich brown, the lesser fae. He brought more lesser fairies than any of us if you excluded the Illyrians. Tarquin, where you at, bro? They're one-upping you. It was an effort not to gawk as I lingered at the edge of where their camp began. Long-limbed creatures like shards of ice given form stalked past, tall enough to plant the cobalt and silver banners atop various tents. Wagons were hauled by sure-footed reindeer and lumbering white bears in ornate armor, some so keenly aware when they ambled by that I wouldn't have been surprised if they could talk. White foxes scuttled about underfoot, bearing what looked to be messages strapped to their little embroidered vests. I prefer the foxes to the otters, I'm just gonna say.
I prefer them too, but only because I love foxes.
Me too. Our Illyrian army was brutal, basic, few frills and sheer rank reigned. Callias's army, or I suppose the army that Vivian had held together during Amarantha's reign. Okay, she's the fucking general, so like, it wasn't just Amarantha's reign. Was a complex, beautiful, teeming thing, orderly yet thrumming with life. Everyone had a purpose, everyone seemed keen on doing it efficiently and proudly. Maybe you guys should take a fucking page out of their book then.
Yeah, because they don't have their shit together, and Winter Court does. And maybe that's why Moore likes to visit them, because they actually have their shit together.
Well, also, Moore has a huge ass crush on one of their soldiers, that's why.
Well, also, too, like, isn't it kind of interesting how Moore and Cassian have their thing, whatever that is, and Cassian's a general, and then she's besties with Vivian, who is also a general? Like, isn't that kind of sus?
I guess.
Like, Moore and then plotting.
And then she has a secret house in Valahan where Ianthe used to live, and Ianthe's dad was also the general of Tamlin's court.
Yeah, that's sus. Like, Morgan, what's with you in general?
She's collecting an army of her own. I don't know.
She might be.
I spotted Moore walking with Vivian and a stunningly beautiful young woman who looked like either Vivian's twin or sister. Vivian was beaming, perhaps more subdued for once, and as she twisted, my brows rose. The human girl Briar was with them, now tucked beneath Vivian's arm, face still bruised and swollen in spots, but smiling timidly at the Winter Court ladies. See, this exactly reminds me of Lucian healing Feyre under the mountain, because he's like, I can't heal what you look like because Amarantha will know, but I can fix your nose. Like, Halen fucking healed her pain, but not the visible markings of it, in case the king got her back. Love it. Vivian began to lead Briar away, chattering merrily. Like, this does not seem like a human reaction, but okay. And Moore and Vivian's possible sister lingered to watch them. Moore said something to the stranger that made her smile slightly. It was a restrained smile, and it faded quickly, especially as a high-faced soldier strode past, grinned at her with some teasing remark, and then continued on. Moore watched the female's face carefully, and then swiftly looked away as she turned back to her, clapped Moore on the shoulder, and strode off after her possible sister and Briar. The way that, okay, all of the she's in that sentence, I feel like
it's very confusing.
Very clarified, yeah. So, okay. The soldier strode past, grinned at Moore with some teasing remark, and then continued on. Moore watched Vivian's sister's face carefully, and then swiftly looked away as she turned back to her, the same person. She clapped more on the shoulder and strode off after Vivian and Briar. There we go. Because I was like, just don't say possible sister, just say Vivian. Like, then we know who Vivian is. Like,
right.
Also, I wish more would have just told her, like, oh, that's Vivian's sister, so-and-so, and then we would have known. You gave Briar over to them. This was another thing that I put on the theory. You gave Briar over to them. We fell into step back toward our own camp. As explained the state you found her in, I didn't think being exposed to battle-ready Illyrians would do much to soothe her. And the Winter Court army is much better. They've got fuzzy animals. I snorted, shaking my head. Those enormous bears were indeed fuzzy. If you ignored the claws and teeth.
Mm-hmm.
You did a brave thing in saving Briar. Anyone would have done it. No. I'm not sure even I would have tried to get her if I would have deemed the risk worth it. I've made enough calls like that where it went badly. That I... ... Who did you get killed more? Let me guess. Maybe some Hewn City dreamers that you tried to smuggle out? Because that would have actually been something worth redeeming you, maybe. A little bit.
A little.
I like to think maybe she tried to smuggle out some female dreamers from Hewn City. But I guess we'll see. And they just got killed instead. But I've known since I was little more than a child that I prefer females, that I'm attracted to them more over males, that I connect with them more on a soul-deep level. But at Hewn City, all they care about is breeding their bloodlines, making alliances through marriage. Someone like me, if I were to marry where my heart desired, there would be no offspring. My father's bloodline would have ended with me. I mean, won't it anyway? I never caught that. Did you catch that?
No.
If I were to marry where my heart desired, there would be no offspring. My father's bloodline would have ended with me. Would have? Would have? Isn't it going to more? You don't have children, do you?
Does she have a brother?
She already had her brothers by then, if they're her brothers. What? My father's bloodline would have ended with me. Huh. If I were to marry where my heart desired, like female. So she had to have had a kid with Eris, even though they didn't end up getting married. Come on. There would be no offspring. Would have. Wouldn't you say my father's bloodline ends with me?
I don't know. I feel like it could be Sarah J. Maas's writing or her editor not picking up on that. I don't know.
People like me, we are, but then she says we are, like present tense, reviled by them, considered selfish for not being able to pass on the bloodline. So I never breathed a word of it. And then my father betrothed me to Eris, and it wasn't just the prospect of marriage to him that scared me. I knew I could survive his brutality and his cruelty and coldness. I am stronger than him. It was the idea of being bred like a prize mare, of being forced to give up that one part of me. But like, were you being bred if you chose, though? I slept with Cassian because I knew it would mean little to him, too. Really? Because it didn't mean little to him, but okay. Because I knew doing it would buy me a shot at freedom. If I had told my parents that I preferred females, you've met my father. He and Baron would have tied me to that marriage bed for Eris, literally. I saw how Azriel looked at me, knew how he felt, and if I'd chosen him, it wouldn't have been fair to him, so I slept with Cassian, and Azriel thought I deemed him unsuitable, and then everything happened, and ... After Azriel found me with that note nailed to my womb, I tried to explain. He started to confess what he felt, and I panicked, and to get him to stop, to keep him from saying he loved me, I just turned and left, and I couldn't face explaining it after that. I sleep with males in part because I enjoy it, but also to keep people from looking too closely. Reese wouldn't care. I don't think anyone in Valaris would. Valaris is a haven for people like me. Rita's, the owner, is like me. She's just like, I've hidden it because I live in terror of my family finding out and shaming me and hurting me about this one thing that remained wholly mine. You don't live in Hewn City, though. Like, what?
Also, it's not the only thing.
I know. Like, who cares? Literally, who cares? Like, it was Nefel and her lover, now her wife, who made me dare to try. They made me so jealous of what they had, their openness. They lived in a place with a people who thought nothing of it. Then why didn't you go and live with them?
Right?
Go live in Credia. Like, what?
She just creates more problems for herself.
One of the human queens. I fell for her. Her name was Andromaca. Blah, blah, blah. Human. Andromaca had been human. Well, apple don't fall far from that tree. Reese. She was human and a queen who needed to continue her royal line. She had 5 By the time I managed to find a hole in the wall to cross, duh, it was more. We're so dumb.
Wait, I'm confused. What?
The crack in the wall. It was fucking more.
But no, she said she found a hole in the wall, not that she made one.
Well, she says for 3 years I tried over and over. By the time I managed to find a hole to cross, she had married a man, had an infant daughter with another on the way.
Oh.
I didn't set foot inside her castle, didn't try to see her. I just turned around and went home. She tried, though, for 3 years to get past the wall. And when
she has to have known Tamlin.
When Hybern was like, someone powerful went through this part of the wall. It was fucking more. God damn it.
Yeah, but also, too, like, she had to have known Tamlin.
I mean, she did walk into his territory last time, and he wasn't alerted, so.
And she went to his territory again to go over the wall.
She bore 5 children and died an old woman safe in her bed. I saw her spirit again in that golden queen, her descendant. This sounds like Aelin. But yeah. Aelin wasn't gay, so.
No, she was pretty straight.
It was pretty damn straight. I mean, could have been another descendant of Aelin. I don't know.
Oh, that could be.
But yeah. I don't know what I wanted. The opposite of her. Any lovers, female, male. That's why it wore on them, why they always ended it. I could never be open about us. As for the males, it never went as deep. The bond, I mean. Even if I did still crave ... You know, every now and then. So you're bi. Just say you're bi. Who cares? But all of them, it wasn't the same as Andromaca. It wasn't the same. It doesn't feel the same in my heart. The male lovers I took, it became a way to keep Azriel from wondering why I wouldn't notice him or make a move. You see how marvelous he is, how special he is.
No, how special is he more?
If I slept with him even once just to try it, to make sure, I think after all this time he would think it was a culmination and a happy ending. I think it would shatter him if I revealed afterwards that I'm not sure if I could give my entire heart to him. And I love him enough to want him to find someone who can truly love him like he deserves. I mean, true. And I love myself enough to not want to settle until I find that person for myself too. If I can even work up the courage to tell the world first. My gift is truth, and yet I have been living a lie my entire existence.
Entire existence? Entire, not like... That's interesting.
Also, I kind of like to think that this is why Moore likes Gwen, and why she's the one that chooses to winnow Gwen and Emery places. Because if you remember, it wasn't to the right, it was to, how the fuck did she, I forget. Oh, she winnowed them to Nesta, I think? I forget. But anyways, Moore winnows Gwen somewhere in ACOWAR. And like she offered. And I was like, okay, truth person. Okay, truth person. Who loves Azriel and wants him to find his person. I want Moore to be the one to be like, bitch, she's your mate. Like, what are you doing?
That would be a pretty redeeming quality.
Like a full circle moment.
Yeah, that would be
where she actually tells the truth and is like, she's your mate. What are you doing?
Yeah, I would actually like that. I don't hate Moore. I don't understand her, but I would like to, and I'm very curious, and I don't know enough, and that pisses me off.
Like, I hate her right now, but like, there's a possibility for redemption. You must think I'm horrible for stringing along Azriel and Cassian. It says Azriel and then like -- and Cassian.
No, there's an admission there, a little confession.
So many things now made sense. How Moore had looked away from the heat in Azriel's eyes, how she avoided that sort of romantic intimacy, but had done fine to defend him if she felt his physical or emotional well-being was at stake. This was Sarah just trying so hard to make the retcon make sense from ACOWAR. Azriel loved her. Of that I had no doubt, but more. I'd been blind not to see, not to realize that there was a damn good reason why 500 years had passed, and she had not accepted what Azriel so clearly offered to her. Do you think Azriel suspects? Moore drew her hand from mine and paced a few steps. Maybe, I don't know, he's too observant not to, but ... I think it confuses him whenever I take a mail home. No shit! So the thing with Helion, why? I've said this before, but I hate this so much. He wanted a distraction from his own problems, which... What the fuck is going on, Helion? Both in ACOWAR and in ACOWAR. He needed a break from his court. What is happening in the day court? Whenever Azriel makes his feelings clear, like he did with Eris, it's stupid. It's so stupid and cruel, but I slept with Helion to remind him. Gods, I can't even say it. To remind him that you're not interested. Yes. I should tell him. I need to tell him. No fucking shit.
Yes, you need to tell him.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if I don't know if you were filming with us that day, but I went over this part, which is after this with Amren, and I was like, she has to be a Sari like Hybern, like she has to be some sort of special, because it says, Amren had secluded herself in a tent and would not let anybody in, not me or Varian or Rhysand. I certainly tried, hissing as I pushed against her wards, but even Helian's magic could not break them. No matter how I demanded and coaxed and pleaded, she did not answer. Magic of the 7 High Lords can't break Amren's wards.
That's very curious.
Spell cleaving magic can't break Amren's wards.
Oh, shit.
But then I'm like, okay, if it was a Sari magic, Feyre could break Hybern's wards, and Lucian could break Hybern's wards.
So is Amren a princess of hell?
Well, then the princes of hell say that they're equally as powerful as the Asari.
So then Amren is neither. She's something else.
I don't know what the... Well, she's like a god. She's like a princess of a god. I don't know.
Unless Amren is Koshi.
I don't know. Not even Helian's magic could break them. What the fuck? And then the whole spiel that she gives when they go to see Bryaxis. She's just so suspicious. She's so suspicious. I don't know. Amren's definitely one of the betrayals. I feel like there's going to be more than one.
I feel like there's going to be more than one as well.
Since I wasn't about to start shouting about my plans in the middle of the camp, I cursed Amren soundly and stormed back to my own tent. Hybern's heading straight across the island. To what end? Really? To what end? Followed by, he would have been better off sailing around. I doubt he changed his mind about meeting us in battle, even with Tamlin now revealed as his enemy. Funny! Funny, Sarah. You're hilarious. They'd all been quietly shocked, some relieved to hear it, though we had no whisper of whether Tamlin would be now marching his small force to us. What, like 5 people? Nothing from Baron either. Targwyn frowned. Losing Tamlin won't cost him many troops, but Hybern could be going to meet another ally on the eastern coast to rendezvous with the army of those human queens from the continent. No shit. He sent the queens back to their homes, and there they remain, their armies not even raised. He'll wait to wield that host until he arrives on the continent. And then the thing with Kier again, which people are going to be sick of hearing of, but I think Kier is very interesting, and I like bringing it up. Perhaps he's leading us on another chase, Callias mused with a frown, Vivian peering at the map beside him. Not Hybern style, Moore said. He doesn't establish patterns. He knows we're onto his first method of stretching us thin. He'll try another way. As she spoke, Kier, standing with 2 silent Darkbringer captains, not generals, studied her closely. I braced myself for any sort of sneer, but the male merely resumed examining the map. These meetings had been the only place where she bothered to acknowledge her father's role in the war, and even now, she barely glanced his way. It was better than outright hostility, but I had no doubt Moore was wise enough not to lay into Kier when we still needed the Darkbringers, especially after Kier's legion had suffered so many losses at that second battle. Whether Kier was furious about the casualties he had not let on, neither had any of his soldiers, who did not speak with anyone outside their own ranks beyond what was necessary. Silence, I suppose, was far preventable. Kier's sense of self-preservation no doubt kept his mouth shut in these meetings and bade him take whatever orders were sent his way. But, like, he just, like, looks at her. Like, no hostility, no nothing. Which kind of reminds me of Rhys and Feyre, because Kier doesn't act hostile with Moore when he's away from his wife.
Yeah.
Let me guess, a witch matron. She has to be a witch matron. Hybern's delaying the conflict. Cassian, he pointed to the massive river snaking inland through the spring court. If we were to cut south from where we are now and head right to the human lands, would you cross that river or go west far enough to avoid it? Lord Devlon seemed inclined to open his mouth to give his opinion. Unlike Kier, the Illyrian commander had no such qualms about making his disdain known, especially in regard to Cassian's command. But before Devlon could shove his way in, Cassian said a river crossing like that would be time-consuming and dangerous. It's too wide. Even with winnowing, we'd have to construct boats or bridges to get across. See? Illyrians can't fucking swim for shit because of their wings. It drags them down. This is exactly why Gwenriel's gonna be the Little Mermaid retelling. She's gonna fucking save Az in Koshi's Lake. I can see it. I can see it.
No.
She's got it. And then the bond's gonna snap. It's gonna be so Ariel and Eric coded. It's gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be cute.
So cute. Elaine put a hand on her throat. He's going to march on the human lands and butcher them just to spite us? Elaine, see, this is why people think you're naive. What? Just
not so much naive, just dumb.
You little airheaded sprite. Can you calm down? I killed his priestess. You took from his cauldron, I said to Nesta. And you, I examined Elaine. She's like, stealing you back was the final insult. She's like, I don't know why the fuck he wanted you. But you know.
Yeah.
Only a madman would wield the might of his army just to get revenge on 3 women. I mean.
Yeah, that checks.
King of Aderlin. I mean, Erewhon with Maeve. Hell, they do it for 1 woman. Never mind 3.
Yeah.
You forget that some of us fought in the war. We know firsthand how unhinged he can be, and that something like this would be exactly his style. If I end my life defending those who need it most, I will consider it a death well spent. Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will, just not in this war, Cassian. Lord Devlin, for once, nodded his approval. I wonder if Cassian noticed it, if he cared. His face revealed nothing, not as his focus remained wholly on my sister. So, did Devlin say that, like, okay, you can die? Or did Devlin say that, like, okay, let's defend anyone who needs it?
I think it was more of defend anyone who needs it. Devlin is so on board